السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. MashaAllah, Abbas, your voice gets higher and higher every week, mashallah.
Yeah, mashallah. You know, I've been doing those vocal training and everything, and so alhamdulillah, it's all working out. So as we just went live, you were quite still, and I thought, oh my God, I think Imran is frozen. It's like I'm going to be on my own here. SubhanAllah. All right, so brothers and sisters, this is episode 19 of The Perfect Storm. For those of you who've just tuned in, maybe for the first time and are unaware of what this particular stream is about, this stream is for non-Muslims to tell us what they believe and perhaps why they believe it. And they put their beliefs through the storm, and we sort of challenge their beliefs as to why they believe those things. So if you're Christian, Jew, atheist, because atheism is effectively affirming a belief as well. So you're more than welcome to come on, explain to us why you believe what you believe. As usual, I would say try to get on early onto the stream, because generally the streams get very popular, especially more so near the end, when we tend to have a lot of people backstage who'd like to come on. They generally send us a lot of comments. Please let me on now. I've been waiting for 2 hours or 3 hours, and we at times we're very sorry, but we can't get you on. So as I say, if you want to get on first or get on quickly, the link is in the description. Please, as I say, click on that link and come on. A lot of comments being made about Abbas looking young. Not really. This is what hair color does. It tends to knock off a few years. So I don't feel any younger. So inshallah, hopefully, once my back gets better, then I might feel a bit younger as well. Imran, how are you doing, mashallah? And how are the things with COVID at the moment?
Alhamdulillah, it's okay. Alhamdulillah, this Omicron is relatively mild compared to the other ones. So it's not we're not, even though the numbers are high in terms of people having it, we're not seeing a lot of hospitalization. So hopefully, inshallah, this will be something that we can get through. And I'm just looking for a return to normality. It's been exhausting. May Allah make it easy for everyone out there who's affected.
I can imagine with all the winter cases of flu and cold and everything else, and then to deal with this as well. So as I said, guys, this stream is for non-Muslims. So we've already got Muslim people coming on. I believe they're Muslim anyway, on the backstage.
So let me just ask if they are.
I think maybe ask if he is Muslim, because obviously, as I say, that it is important that we give a chance. Assalamu alaikum, Sadat. How are you doing, brother? You all right? Sorry, I think Sadat was just getting himself ready then, and we already put him on live.
Assalamu alaikum. No, I'm good. I thought I was ready. Assalamu alaikum.
Alhamdulillah. So, Peanut King, if you can put your camera on for a few seconds, just so we can identify you. You don't have to have your camera on once you're on the stream, but we do need to identify people before they come on. So we'll be quite grateful. All right, lovely. So we'll get Peanut King on first. Peanut King,
could you just clarify because that brother said that I just arrived. I'm sure you've done this before. Just to clarify what the aim of this particular stream is. I'm sure
yes, of course.
That knows, but it would be useful as a reminder for everyone.
Yeah, so Brother Sadat, this is generally Perfect Storm is for non-Muslims, for them to come on and tell us what they believe, why they believe it, and we put their beliefs through the storm, as it were. We question them as to why they believe certain things, and we ask them to sort of, I suppose, justify their beliefs evidentially, preferably. So that's really what we do here on this particular stream. So it has Brother Imran in the back. He's
a Muslim. I would say Alhamdulillah he's a Muslim, but unfortunately for the stream, it's not useful to be a Muslim in the back chat.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So
we can't challenge you being Muslim, because that would be challenging ourselves, and that would be a definite red line. So you have to be non-Muslim to get onto the stream. So I think we have put the link out, but we will put the link out again. So that is very interesting. Today I was just watching a short video of Muhammad Hijab, and excuse me, and he was having a conversation with that preacher from Canada.
Yeah. Maybe is it David Lynn that you're thinking
David
of?
Lynn, yeah,
Okay.
David Lynn.
Okay.
And really embarrassing, I thought, for him, really, more than anything else, because he came all the way to Speaker's Corner and then did not engage in any discussion or debate with anybody, and then went outside of the park and said, hey, I'm not here to have an argument. I'm not here to have a discussion. I'm just here to preach the gospel. I'm just here to preach the word. And to me, it just seemed like real cowardice. And in fact, Hamza challenged him inside the park, and he said, look, why do you believe this? Why do you believe that? And he said, hey, I'm just looking at the moment, and I'm here, I'll be back, And Hamza said, look, definitely come back, because I'd like to have a discussion with you, because this is what the sort of tactics you do in Canada. He tends to put the microphone on when he's speaking, and when the other person is speaking, he takes his finger off the button, so the other person's arguments can't be heard, basically. And I just sort of think to myself, like, really? And the guy's supposed to be apparently quite educated and stuff. He's supposed to be quite educated in Christianity. And I find these sort of tactics really, really weird. And he mentioned you as well. Oh, that this guy Sadat, he's here from Canada as well. And I've had lots of discussions with him, and I've defeated him every time. And I thought, it's just comical, really. Why does he do stuff like that? It's embarrassing, really.
Yeah. And you see, Abbas, the thing is, I try to be fair. So, I mean, like, just street debating and Speaker's Corner style ad hoc debating is not for everyone. It's not my strength. I like to prepare and have some kind of a moderated discussion or debate. It's not for everyone. But in his case, as you said, this pastor, David Lynn, this is exactly what he does in Toronto on the street corner. Now he's all over the world. He's gotten big now. But he goes on street corners and he just challenges like lay Muslims who are not into this field. They're not into this kind of discussion. He challenges them with all kinds of questions and debates them. So that's why I was putting him on the spot. I wouldn't do that with just anyone.
Yeah.
But I was saying, David, like, back in Toronto, you're ready to debate all the time on the street. Well, now you're in the center of street debating, in not just Europe, but in the world. So why don't you engage now? The funny thing is also, he had a vlog shortly after that in which he said, I think this guy Sadat is following me, because this was coincidence that he happened to be visiting London and I happened to be visiting London. We were both at Speaker's Corner. But in my head, I'm thinking like, yeah, really, I have enough money and I care enough about you that I'm going to follow you around the world. Yeah, that's what's...
I mean, yeah, absolutely crazy notion. But I do find that it's... What I find very bewildering is that, so for example, even Brother Ijaz will try to engage with the very best that Christianity has to offer, and they won't debate him. They cancel debates with him. Then they pretend that he was the one who cancelled, and then he actually ends up showing emails of the classic example was with what's the preacher that used to come to Speaker's Corner a lot, the
Jay
Smith, that's the one, Jay Smith, and he said to Jay Smith, look, we'll have a debate, and then Jay, clearly from the email it could look like he'd back down, right? And he was then lying and saying how, Ijaz has somehow backed down from the debate, from the discussion. And I just thought, why do these type of tactics when it's easily uncovered and it's easily shown? That it just seems to me that as long as they can keep their flock, they're not concerned about how bad they look outside. But as long as their flock is convinced that, they're trying to, they're trying to debate these guys, but the Muslims are the ones who don't want to debate, who don't want to discuss these things, So I think it's just a desperate situation, really. That even like, for example, our Christianity streams that we did, we've been doing, the historicity streams for nearly 2 years now. And, we've had some of their top guys, Samuel Green, who's well known in Christian polemics. We have Jonathan McClatchy. Again, the guy's got a doctorate, very well versed in Christianity. They come on once and they say, oh, that's an interesting argument. Oh, that's interesting. And I'll have to come back to you with that. We never see them again. It's odd, isn't it, really, when you think about that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know, on all sides, we should try to be sincere, and we should be more invested in the truth than in our ego or about winning and things like that. I mean, in my Bible, I've got lots of notes. I've got printed notes. I mean, you can't actually see it, but I've got printed notes, that I've typed out and things. Believe me, Abbas, over the years, there's things I've crossed out. There's things I've just white out, I've just liquid papered it out because someone has brought it to my attention that that's not a legitimate argument to make against Christianity or the Bible. So, I mean, I don't know. No one's perfect, but I try. I don't think to myself, well, it didn't work on this guy, but it might work on the next Christian who doesn't know anything about the Bible. He won't have the answer. So why don't I just try with it? No, if it's not a legitimate, valid argument, I've crossed it out. I've tried to modify. I've tried to improve. So, I mean, just, we should all try to do that.
Yeah. So we're probably going to have our first guest on very shortly, but I would also say to atheists as well, come on the show, discuss why you believe what you believe. Why do you believe that the universe somehow came into existence from nothing, or that it doesn't have any prior causal effect to it? It'd be interesting to know, because ultimately that in itself would be a belief. Because if you believe that it has some prior cause to it, if you believe that it is contingent, and then it requires an explanation. And the only logical conclusion an atheist can arrive at, once you exhaust all the possibilities, is this need for an uncaused first cause. It's a very logical argument. And what I want to know is why if you're atheist, why do you deny what is, to most people, I would say, a very rational, a very logical argument to have? Okay, so we've got our first guest on Old Man Polemics. Welcome to the stream. We can't hear you, so maybe you're muted. You might just need to unmute yourself on your microphone. Yeah, we can't hear you, so I think we can't unmute. Oh, here we go. I think we can hear you now.
Sounded like someone doing one of those rap remix kind of things, old school rap remix.
Either that, or possibly may have eaten too many beans before the stream. Okay,
that might be the caliber of argumentation we're going to face.
Yeah, wow, a lot. Okay, so look, we tend to generally start a little bit slow, because people tend to get warmed up to the idea that they can come onto the stream. We'll put the link out again. We are getting a few guests, but they tend to be Muslims. And brothers and sisters, if you're Muslim, this is not the stream for you. This is for non-Muslims. And so, if you're non-Muslim and you have a belief, you're more than welcome to tell us about that. And we'd like to discuss that with you. One of the things, Imran, I do find very odd, though, because I was looking through some of the debates and discussions that we've had with atheists. And there seems to be this fairly consistent line that is thrown out there once an atheist gets stuck. And that is, I don't know. I don't know. We don't know. Anything is possible, but I'll just keep going back to the I don't know situation, Why do you think that is? Because quite frankly, if I saw a building that was charred, that was all, charred, the wood was all black and the roof had collapsed, I would infer that, well, there must have been a fire there, clearly, to do that to the building. I wouldn't sort of say, well, I don't know. It could have been this. It might have been that. The most logical, the most rational conclusion that one can come to is that the cause of that building being charred, it's probably a fire, because that's how things work. That's how we know things work, you know? So now when it comes to the universe or the beginning of life or these things, why do you think, I mean, I think it's probably quite, I suppose quite obvious why, but what do you think the reason is? Why is this I don't know situation that comes out all the time as if it's a valid argument, you know?
That's an interesting question. I think there's two ways of looking at it. I think one way is that there is many people now are socialized atheists. So it's the society is such secular. It's secular. We're taught essentially that the only real knowledge or true knowledge, however you want to phrase it, is what science and empiricism can discover. So they make the fallacy of scientism, which is to make science the only mechanism of trying to find truth, without realizing the underlying sort of philosophical commitments that are made, i.e. that everything is, only the material world exists, etc. And there's this idea that where science doesn't have the answer, saying I know is a valid response. And so, you know, sometimes it can be, but when it comes to these questions that science won't have access to, then I don't know doesn't really suffice. But the other way of looking at it is, I mean, what would they be calling anyone to? It's like a man. I think I saw Brother Sabur sort of give a similar analogy of a man without any clothes standing in the rain, calling you out of your warm house to come and stand with them in the way that they're standing. And it doesn't, you know, there's nothing. They have nothing to offer you in terms of a worldview, in terms of anything that you would find valuable or meaningful for your life. All they're asking you to do is just to take off whatever you're wearing and come out to me and stand here in this cold, pitiless universe, because it would literally be that. So subhanAllah, I just I don't really, this scientism plus this respectability for the I don't know in scientific terms, because really science is the aim of science is to produce models that approximate how the universe works, and nothing more really than that. And everything is a step on the path to getting more and more accurate models. So every step is whenever you come across something you don't know. And I think we have to be really mindful of the fact that, you know, this socialized atheism is on the rise, and we have to sort of try to sort of deal with that. So a bit of a winding answer, but I hope you understood what I was trying to say. Inshallah.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think the other thing, of course, is that once you say, yes, that's very rational, an infinite regress of contingent things is not logical. And you then have to agree, because logically then the argument goes, well, then there has to be a first cause that is by necessity necessary. And then you can discuss the properties of what this first cause must be. And then it starts to sound an awful lot like a creator, right? And I think that's the point. And I think the thing is that they're not as perhaps dumb as they like to perhaps show in terms of, well, dumb, not as it, sorry, I said dumb, I mean unknowing, let's say. Oh, we just don't know. So we're just very open-minded. In fact, I think knowing where the logical argument will go to, where it will end up, the only way to prevent that from going there is to say, well, look, anything is possible. I don't know, basically. So I think that's probably what it is. So we've got this comment, Imran. I don't know if you can see. I'll just put it up on the screen. Brother said that maybe you can address this first, and then Dr. Imran can address it. You know, please address this argument about what did God create out of. If what God created out of was nothing, then something can come from nothing. Nothing, or if it was within himself, then everything is God. So I think that is a real misunderstanding of how God creates. But I'll let actually, since it is addressed to you, Dr. Imran, if you address that first, and then Brother Sadat, you can inshallah address that as well.
I'll be interested to hear Brother Sadat's take on this, inshallah.
Okay.
It's interesting because this came up in the Hinduism discussion that was on Dawah. And I'm listening to the the first part of that, and I haven't seen the last part of it, but it's something that's often put forward. And I think that there's a misunderstanding here. So when the challenge is when the question is put forward, did the universe create itself or did it come from nothing? When I'm listening to that, when I'm reflecting upon that, it's talking about the idea that there needs to be something that brings about the universe that we're in. It's not really talking about the mechanism of that. It's just talking about the fact that you need an ultimate underlying cause. And Allah is as-Samad. He is the one who is really essentially that everything relies upon, the not necessary being. Now, this idea of that matter cannot be created from anything is it has to have something else that it comes from. Is not. It doesn't really make sense. I mean, within the universe, yes, matter and energy cannot be created or destroyed, but that's not something that applies outside of that. So Allah can create the universe, and the howness of it we may not be aware of that. It could be just Allah using His power to bring about matter, however that may be, but we don't have access to that. But it's not from nothing, in the sense that Allah is the one who's bringing about the universe with His power. So that would be my take on it. And it's not the same as the question that the Quran puts forward: did this come from nothing? That meant that if there was no creator, if there was just a chain of material events, how would this have started? How would this have come about? And which is why the question, did you create yourselves? Because it's talking about this chain. We cannot bring about ourselves. We need something to bring us about, or the universe about. So it's really kun fayakun. Allah says be, and it is, and that's really it. That power that brings about the creation. But brother, Sadat, what are your views? I would like to be educated.
Bismillah. I think I'm essentially saying the same thing that you're saying, Dr. Imran. One way that I would summarize this point is that God created something out of nothing. If that statement is correct, God created something out of nothing. Can I fully understand that? Can I explain that? Can I explain the mechanics of that, the logistics of that? No, I can't. In all honesty, otherwise I would be God, right? We would be God if we understood that. However, God created something out of nothing still makes more sense to me than nothing created something out of nothing. You see what I'm saying? God created something out of nothing makes more sense than nothing created something out of nothing. Or another way to put that is that something coming out of nothing with God as the agent makes more sense to me than something coming out of nothing with nothing as the agent. So sometimes you just have to weigh out which one makes more sense. Not that it makes perfect sense to our intellect, but which one makes more philosophical sense.
Yeah, there was a really funny example that I think Brother Mohammed Hijab gave us. If the universe was the bunny being pulled out of the hat, then we have the bunny being pulled out of the hat by nothing. And it's really what's more magical, the nothing pulling the bunny out of the hat, or something pulling the bunny out of the hat. So it's a wonderful analogy, brother. Jazakallah khair for that.
I think also the one of the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if I'm not mistaken, is and I don't remember the attribute, maybe one of you guys can Google it, which is that in Arabic, what that means is that it's not only a creator, but can create from nothing, doesn't need materials to create from. The Arabic term means that that this entity, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, can simply will something into existence. And so, of course, this is a supernatural thing. When we human beings think about creating something, the reason why we can create a TV, or we can create a cup or a microphone or whatever it might be, is because we have materials to assemble to create it. But Allah, the creator, is the one who can create from nothing. He simply wills something into existence. And so, yes, this is a supernatural way of bringing things into existence. But and as I say, I don't remember the attribute, the name, which in Arabic signifies creates from nothing. But this is unique to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we all need something to create, but Allah needs nothing to create.
And maybe just to further drive the point here, if the question is, if the point of the question is that, okay, if theists believe that God created something out of nothing, and if there are some atheists out there who say a similar thing, that the universe came out of nothing, well, then you're both on par. You're both making a supernatural claim. Yeah, but I think Dr. Imran used the word magical. One of these claims is far more magical than the other one, and that is that nothing caused something out of nothing. That is a bigger, more magical, more supernatural thing to have to believe in.
Exactly.
And it's a cliched thing now to say, but I don't have enough faith to believe in that without some evidence, without some serious evidence.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a valid point, mashallah. Okay, so we have our friend back again, Seeker of Truth. So let's get him on next without further ado. Seeker of Truth, welcome to the stream. Oh, I think his internet has frozen. That's a shame. So we do have Carol Wright, who did try to get on previously as well, quite a few times. I don't know if she's managed to put her camera on. Has anybody verified her? So I'll take Seeker of Truth off for a minute or two until he sorts his internet out. Carol Wright, if you could put your camera on for a second or two so we can identify you. And then we can get you on. What was the follow-up question to that, Imran, that you put up on the screen? Sorry, you did put up another. I think, was it from the same person?
Yeah. So the brother summarized it really well, which was there we go.
There we go.
So the mechanism is insignificant as long as an explanation that does not require an explanation in itself.
Yeah.
So nothing bringing something from nothing requires a further explanation, whereas something bringing something from nothing, if it's the final thing in that chain, would not require in itself an explanation. So Jazakallah khair, brother Shoaib, for
that's a good answer.
for clarifying and summarizing our points.
Alhamdulillah. So we've got a couple of people in the backstage. One of you don't have your device connected, and so we can't get you on. And that's dictatorialism is Islam or something. I can't quite.
I'll just have a conversation in the back chat to try and get people to.
Lovely. And if Carol can get her camera on as well, that will be helpful, so we can identify her before we can get her on. You can always switch off your camera once you're ready to come on. So in Canada, is it quite popular for these street preachers to do what they're doing there, or is it quite rare to do that?
Yeah, it's a rare thing. And as you brothers already know, especially comparing to Speaker's Corner, Hyde Park, that is a unique thing. I think we discussed that maybe on the last live stream. That is just a unique thing in the world. And it developed very spontaneously. I mean, it has a history to it. Sorry, very organically is the word. It developed very organically in London, England. In other places, similar attempts have been made, but you can't kind of artificially just transplant that idea. So I think Singapore was mentioned, that there's a Speaker's Corner in Singapore. And I mentioned, because I looked that up once. I went to Singapore once, and you need a permit from the government before you can speak at Speaker's Corner in Singapore. So this kind of defeats the whole purpose of freedom of speech, anything goes kind of thing. So, but to answer your question more directly, then I think throughout. It's a rare thing. Yeah, it's a rare thing. And it's kind of the marginal loonies. Like, that's how the mainstream society would look at such people. It's the marginal loonies who stand at street corners and preach about the Bible or whatnot. Even when Muslims do it, I always say it has to be done very delicately, because we're fighting not only the image of Muslims being some kind of extremist group, but we're also fighting the image of like people who stand at street corners to share their views on life tend to be eccentric, strange people.
Okay, so we've got Seeker of Truth back again. Let's hope his internet is better. Seeker of Truth, I think your internet is not. What might be helpful, if you can hear me, is if you switch your camera off, maybe. And if your bandwidth is not coping,
We saw you there for a second.
Yeah. Hi, Seeker of Truth. You all right?
Hey, yeah.
Can you hear us?
Namaste and
okay, lovely.
Yeah.
So
Hello. How are you?
If your internet struggles, it might be an idea to switch your camera off, because the bandwidth will work a lot better with just voice only. But let's see. At the moment, it seems to be working.
Yeah.
So you've got so how are you doing today, anyway?
I am better. I saw your live stream, so I thought, I don't know now. You will discuss with me, or I don't know what is your agenda today.
No, so basically, this particular stream is for people to come on and explain to us what they believe and why they believe it. So I know that you're a Hindu, and you have spent many years studying Hinduism, formally. I think at what do you call it? Is it an ashwara? What's it called? The
ashram. Yeah.
Ashram. Sorry, an ashram.
Yeah.
And so you've taken quite a lot of many years. I think 20 years. You said you studied. Is that right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So if I were to ask you, why do you believe Hinduism is true? What have you done to verify whether the faith you're following is indeed from the Creator, or whether it's more of a man-made thing?
Yeah, very good question. So you all can hear me clearly?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I was very spiritually inclined because of my my home tradition, because I was, as I told you, I was born in a very orthodox Brahmin family, a South Indian Brahmin. So I always saw, my mother was very devotional, orthodox, Krishna devotee. My father was little liberal, but because of my mother, she would take me to the temples, especially Krishna temple, and the mantras, the Sanskrit mantras always attracted me. But those days, like I was very young, in teen, I didn't understand what's the mantra and everything was, but the sound was very mesmerizing. So I decided that I should find out what is the meaning of these mantras. What do all these say? So as a Hindu, my father had a Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, your camera has frozen again. It might be a time to switch the camera off. Just turn the video off, maybe, and then we can maybe hear your sound.
His frozen frame just reminds me of a joke. Maybe I can put in some comic relief in the meantime. I was reading this comic strip in the newspaper, and it was about how kids, and especially high school teenagers, are adapting to online learning.
Yeah.
So the comic strip had one of the teenagers, and every time the teacher would ask him the question, like, Mike, what's the answer to 9A? He'd say, well, according to me, and he'd just pretend to go frozen, and the teacher would say, okay, let's move on to Susan now.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I'm sure that Seeker of Truth is not doing that here.
No.
Seeker of Truth, sorry, we lost you for a second. As I say, if the internet is struggling, then do just switch the video off, and that way we can,
So coming to the point, then I met some devotees of Krishna, especially you must be knowing the Hare Krishna devotees, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So they used, I saw them on the streets distributing Bhagavad Gita. So already, I was struggling to learn Bhagavad Gita, and here they are saying they were distributing. So I went to them and said that, will you teach me Bhagavad Gita? So they said, yes, you can. So I used to stay that time in Pune, which is 3 hours drive from Mumbai. So they had a branch there. So then I started attending the classes, and then according to Bhagavad Gita, then I started understanding that there is one supreme God, which earlier I used to believe that there are many gods. That is what is Hinduism, we see Shiva and then Durga, Saraswati, Lakshmi, so many. Then they said, slowly after understanding Bhagavad Gita, and then also I didn't stop there. I also compared, like for example, I had, as I told you, that I had a lot of Muslim friends also. They would also, like in fact, when I shifted to Mumbai, Zakir Naik, he used to stay, that time he had his office at Bhendi Bazaar. So very nearby, my relative used to stay. And one of my friend, his name was Suel Sheikh. So he was my project partner. And so he was saying that you should also study, Quran and see, because he was a very staunch, believer of, he was born Muslim and also very nicely following every 5 times he used to pray and all. And then I had some philosophical conversation also. Of course, Zakir Naik was a big man, so I was trying to talk to him, but he is a big man, so he didn't have time to talk to me. But there were many of his disciples or his followers. I used to talk to him. But then the point used to come that, like for example, I used to ask them that why there are people who are somebody, God has made somebody rich, somebody poor, somebody, a Muslim, born in a Muslim family, somebody is in a, so we will see that I am born in a Hindu family. So, but you say that, okay, Quran is the truth. But naturally, one who is born in a Muslim family will automatically have that culture, and automatically he will be more inclined. So, but then they gave me answer that, okay, God knows the best. We don't know the answer that why somebody is born. So this always kept. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you. Yes.
Hello. Yeah.
You guys have heard
Okay,
of have heard of Zakir Naik, right?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you, brother.
Yeah. Okay. So what I found was that then I studied, then the ISKCON or the Hare Krishna movement. You will see that the main personality there is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is said that he appeared 500 years back. Okay, and the explanation of God, the who God can be, and all the arguments, debates, whatever. So I felt that the information about God, and that is Krishna, is a very logical, and I feel that the explanations given is very convincing. So that's why I feel that the ultimate is that we are part and parcel of Krishna, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mama Vamshi Jiv Loke, and in ultimately end he says, surrender unto me, you will be free from all this cycle of birth and death, and you will go to the kingdom of God. And who is God here? Krishna, eternally there.
Sorry, brother,
yeah.
one second
Yeah.
before you continue,
Okay.
because what you're doing is you're giving us sort of really an explanation of what the story within Hinduism. What we really want to know is, why is it that you believe this? What led you to believe in any of these things?
The explanation.
So you were an Indian who was born in India, and people around you were Hindu. You were born into a Hindu family.
Yeah.
So why do you believe that Hinduism is true?
Yeah. See,
why do you believe that perspective is true?
In Hinduism also, there are many sects. Like for example, you must have heard about Ram Krishna Mission. Chinmaya Mission is there. They are also very popular. Or
so let's try and brother, let's try and, because we want to try and get to some point hopefully here. So why don't you start by telling us, what do you believe God is? What's your concept of God? And then we can start from that perspective and see how you arrived at that point, please.
Yeah. Okay. So here we see that the great sages, we call it Madhvacharya. So all these great acharyas, the gurus, we call them. So they have presented their commentaries on Vedanta, Vedic scriptures, Puranas and all, and they have come to the conclusion that the Supreme Lord Krishna, he is a super soul, and we are minute soul. He is infinite. He is unlimited.
Sorry, where was this from, brother? Where did this conclusion come from?
Yeah, from the Vedic scriptures.
So where did the Vedic scriptures come from?
Yeah, so the Vedic scriptures, first, what happened, the Vedic scriptures is an introduction of the cabinet. Like, for example, if you see Rig Veda, which is considered to be the oldest book, right? So there are around 300 sages which this was revealed. And so there are some very prominent names. I can't remember all 300 names, but there were also ladies, and there were male and female both sages. So then what happened was that earlier everything was memorized. It was not written down.
Sorry, well, I think maybe they're missing the point. So because you said that we want to know, how is it that you believe what these scriptures say? So you're talking about the Vedas. Where do the Vedas come from? And what is it about them that you think makes them reliable so that we can accept them for you?
Yeah. So the description about the living being, soul, like I will tell you, there are 5 subjects of our Hinduism. Like, for example, first is God, right? The second is the Jiva, that is the soul. And then the Prakriti, the creation. And then there is a time, that is Kala. And there is a karma, that is action. So all these 5, this truth are very well described. So it's very easy to understand that what are these 3 aspects, 5 topics, especially also.
So I appreciate that. I appreciate the explanation of what's within the text. What I wanted to know is why so say if somebody came to you now and they said, okay, you have the Vedas, why should I believe in them? Where do they come from? What makes them true? Now, it's one thing. It's what I'd like you to do is tell us where did it come from? Was it revealed from the Creator? So there's a few things I've asked that I just want to clarify. So, what is your concept of God, and where do you get this from? And where do you get your teaching? So you mentioned the Vedas. Where do the Vedas come from? And if I can ask the brothers to sort of help with this sort of inquiry.
Yeah. First of all, the human being or any person, like you will see that most of them are materialistic. They are interested in money, woman, family and all. But those who interested in God, those who interested on a transcendental path. So the first thing they have been told that now you have to inquire, like Athato Brahma Jigyasa. So if you see the Vedanta Sutra's first verse, so it is not saying that Vedas, okay, you believe the Vedas blindly. It is not like that. It is by philosophical.
I think, Seeker of Truth, we are sort of perhaps misunderstanding one another. So if you were to ask me, what convinces you that Islam is true? Then I would say that the Quran is a living miracle that is provably preserved, that when analyzed could not have come from anyone other than the God Almighty.
Yeah, it's
an overwhelming miracle of God, and in a multifaceted way, and provably preserved. And therefore, we accept it as a miracle from God, and we accept it as being the word of God. Okay. Now, what you're telling me is you're telling me about teachings that you found that were perhaps impressive or whatever. But one of the issues that I have with Hinduism, and we discussed this last time as well, you believe in a supreme creator, right?
Yeah.
But then you believe that this supreme creator, the essence or the parts of this creator are in sages, are in other people who are also God. Right? This is what you said to me previously. Right?
Yeah. What is that? That is Ishwar. See, Ishwar means.
And you said to me that, you know, there are the majority of Hindus will actually worship those demigods.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're saying that they're actually worshipping the supreme God by doing that. Now, I as a Muslim, I would obviously have a problem with that, because in Islam, this would be known as shirk. This would be known as association of partners with God, with the Creator. And this is, for us as Muslims, the greatest sin that anybody can ever commit. So what I would like to ask you is, because previously I asked you about the Rig Veda, for example, which says there's no likeness of God, therefore you can't have a statue of God, right? Yet Hinduism today is full of statues. All of the mandirs you go to will have statues of gods, right? So why is it that when the core message is that there's no likeness of God, there is no there is nothing comparable to God, why then do you have these statues? And in your mandir that you go to, the place of worship that you go to, is there a statue of Krishna in there?
Yes.
So does that Krishna look like the supreme creator?
Yeah, that I will explain you. Okay, so you said in Vedas or Upanishad also, you will see there is explanation, nothing is like him. So when the Upanishads and Vedas say nothing like him, means nothing material like him. He's completely spiritual. So now there are hundreds of verses describing the beauty of Lord Krishna. If you read the Chintamani Prakara Sadmasu Kalpa Vruksha, Venum Konantam Arvindadalaytaksham. So he is holding a flute. He has a beautiful peacock feather. He has a very beautiful eyes. Every limb is so beautiful. Then, of course, the sculptors or the painters, hearing this description, they may have limitations of, creating a statue or creating a painting of Lord Krishna. So ultimately,
brother, sorry, brother. Thank you because you're explaining again something. So I think we're going to give you maybe another chance to try and. There's two basic questions that we're trying to get to the bottom of. What is your concept of God and why you accept that? So I want to understand what you believe God is, what you understand about God, just as a basic thing. And then where do you get this information from? So you mentioned the Vedas, and the Vedas, I want to know, why should somebody like me accept what the Vedas say? What is it about them that you can put down as this is evidence that this is from that being that you're talking about? What is it about them? Are they divinely revealed? Are they, so these are the two questions. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to try and answer those. I think if it's going to go in a circle, then we might move on, brother.
As you said, that Vedas were revealed and they were carried on by the great gurus. We called it acharyas. So just like you say, it's a miracle, or it is preserved like that, right?
Who was the first? Who received the Vedas? Who was the first person to receive the Vedas?
Exactly. For example, now the first person is Brahma. He is the first living entity who this world he creates because he's a living entity.
Sorry, brother, I'm just going to a bit confused. So isn't Brahma God, according to you?
Yeah, but he is not full God. God means, what you say is that he has the power. The God has given him power. He is not God. So that's why you will see.
The first question, the first question is, who is God?
Krishna, the Supreme Lord. Krishnastu Bhagwan Sayam. That is what is mentioned in all the scriptures. That
who gave the? I'm just trying to understand you. Are you saying that the Vedas were given to Brahma by Krishna? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. So that's why my school of thought is called as Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. Brahma means the Brahma is the first who received this knowledge, and then it was passed down through disciplic succession. And very prominent acharya is Madhvacharya. Like in India, there are 5 very important schools of thought.
So when were the Vedas revealed, brother?
It is eternally existing. That is existing. But when this universe was created, at the same time, it was revealed to Brahma. And like in Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna says that Imam Vivashvate Yogam Proktavanavayam Vivashvanamanavapro. I give this knowledge, but Evam Parampara Prapt. So what happens is that as the time goes, the knowledge get people become irreligious. They don't follow the right path. So he comes again and again to re-establish the religious duties.
Just so I understand, so the Veda. So tell, before I talk about the Vedas, you said Brahma is God, yeah? No, Krishna is God. You said yes.
Yeah.
So Krishna, what is it? What is about Krishna that makes Krishna God? What qualities does he have that make him God?
Yeah.
What is it that you understand about God?
Very beautiful question. Very beautiful question. So according to one of the great sages, he was a father of Vyasdev. He says that Aishwaryasya Samagrasya. There is a verse. I will not waste time in quoting the verses, but I will tell there are 6 opulence that makes somebody God. Okay, what are these 6 opulence? Aishwarya means he is the owner of all the wealth of this. Anything you see, spiritual, material, everything he created it. So that is called as Aishwarya. Veer means all the strength he should have. That personality should have all the strength of the world. Nobody should be there who has more than him or equal to him. No, he should be the source of all strength. Veer, Yasha means he should have all the fame. He is the most famous personality. All the fame. Then beauty. He is the most beautiful person. And then Jnana. He is the most all knowledgeable person. And then Vairagya. And in spite of having all these opulences, he is completely satisfied. He doesn't need anything from us. He is completely renounced. So when a person has these 6 opulence in full, then you can say, and that was exhibited in Bhagavad Gita in 11th chapter. You can see Krishna showed the universal form.
Can I ask you a question? Does Brahma have the same qualities?
No, he's a living entity like you and me, but because of his qualification, he has attained that very big status. Just like a president of a country, he is a president of this universe.
But you said Brahma created the universe.
So by the power of who gave power? Like for example, some minister can work, but it is because the president has given him that powers, or the people have given. Here people are God in democratic country.
So the Vedas that you have now, have they been the same since the beginning, or are they changing continually?
No, they are the same as they are recited. If you see Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samveda, but when they were written, because in Kali Yuga, it is this age is of degraded age. So we need laptops and big GBs or books. So Vyasdev, when he realized that we are entering in a degraded age, people will not remember. Then he started writing the Vedas, and then Upanishads, then Puranas, Itihasas, whatever he has, whatever historical records, and then that was then continued through the disciplic succession.
So why do you believe that this? Why do you believe that this is from God? What is it about the Vedas that makes you believe it's from God?
Because those who I saw the life of the great sages, they have sacrificed their life for the purpose of God. They had no other. They were completely free from all vices like lust, anger, pride, greed, religion. They were completely absorbed. So a person whose life is completely dedicated to God, and whatever he says, I analyze it. Like for example, they say that this material world is a place of suffering. So yes, it is a place of suffering. Yeah.
Sorry, 1 second, brother. The thing is that what you're saying is that because the person was a certain type of way, we believe what he said. But that's not an evidence that what he brings is from God.
Yeah,
So, for example, there are many Christians who I'm sure have dedicated their lives to doing wondrous things and have been selfless and, great people and done great good in the world. There are many Muslims who have done similar things, have sacrificed their life, their time in the path of God. There are many Buddhists or other people of other faiths who may have done that. Now, that in and of itself, you wouldn't point to all of these religions and say, therefore, they are all true. There has to be something else that would allow you to distinguish that
I found
Seeker of Truth. Can I just ask you a quick question, because we have a lot of guests waiting now?
I think we need to.
Is it acceptable to worship Brahma?
No, because you will never find only one or two just to give him some respect, but you will not find Brahma temple anywhere in India.
Okay.
Just there are one is at Pushkar.
when you have statues of Kali Ma and you have statues of all of the other gods, and that those are worshipped, do you think that's actually wrong?
Yeah, that's wrong. Krishna himself says that so because of the desire, now there are, as I said, that there are three modes of material nature. That some, like I said, that you like pious people, you believe in one God, you want to live a pure life. But there are some people who are so degraded. They want to, achieve, like, you see politicians, they want power, they want to destroy people, and their mentality is so low. So then they are automatically inclined to worshipping of ghostly character or very ferocious gods.
So Seeker of Truth, would it be, as a Muslim, I'm asking you the question, obviously I don't know, the majority of the Hindus, around 600-700 million Hindus, is that right? Maybe 800 million Hindus?
Maybe 1 billion, you can say 1 billion all over the world.
Let's say for argument's sake 1 billion Hindus. Do the majority of them go to these temples, and do they worship these multiple gods, or do you think this is just a minority?
Yeah, I can say most of them are materialistic, just like any other
religion. In your eyes, are they then sinning, because obviously they're going against the very core teachings of Hinduism, which is to worship the one and only God, right?
Yeah. The thing is that suppose somebody is worshipping God, that is his faith. But if he is not causing any harm to other living beings, but what happens that sometimes they kill buffalo and sacrifice animals, and sometimes they may kill even a human being there, and so any harm done to other living being is sin. And
I think brother Seeker of Truth, I think we're going to really wrap this up. I just want to, you said there were no temples to Brahma.
Yeah.
There is a temple to Brahma in Pushkar.
Yeah, I told you, in Pushkar there are two temples in India. So one is in Pushkar, Rajasthan. Okay.
Yeah.
And one very small temple in Barsana in Vrindavan. But nobody takes.
So there are people. There are people that worship. There are people that worship.
Yeah, they're worshipping somebody, in a higher position, maybe a living entity. But if they read Bhagavad Gita, they will have to come to Krishna.
Sure. So are you saying most people are not following?
No, they are materialistic. They are not interested in spiritual life. They want money
of these 1 billion people. Sorry, of these 1 billion people who are Hindus, the vast majority of them are worshipping other than Krishna. They're worshipping Vishnu or Kali Ma, whoever that may be. They're worshipping all of these other semi-deities or demigods.
Because
instead of worshipping Krishna, so you would say that they are not following the teachings of the religion.
Yeah, exactly. They are more materialistic people. They want more comforts of life, beautiful wife, they want beautiful house, they want beautiful car. So they are more interested in material things than the renunciation, good qualities, worship.
Okay, Krishna. So what I would say, Seeker of Truth, it's been interesting talking to you. I don't know how much headway we've made, but maybe we can come.
One more. I would like to answer Imran's one question, that how you will follow. So he said Christianity also, there are very those people who sacrificed, and then Buddhism, but then there are two types of accepting the concept. One is by philosophical deliberation, one by sentimentalism. So what happens is that many times people fall prey to sentimentalism. Like you will say the Christianity, they will say, Christ went on the cross, died for you. So sentimentally, people, so there is some benefit given, like, you will get heavenly damsels, heaven and all. So they are sentimentally accepting
So how
God
do you?
because they are
So how do you come to your belief rather than talking about other things?
by
that we
philosophical deliberation, and this
Okay.
is continuing process. More you get convinced. That is from the small faith.
So secret of truth, I would say philosophically, it does not make sense for there to be multiple beings with power to create and to
No, as I said,
have a
no, one point I will
brother,
make.
let me just make a point. So that it doesn't make sense to be philosophically for there to be multiple gods with the ability to create and have power
I
and do
didn't
these
say there
things
are.
and have a universe which is
No, I didn't.
uniform
I
and
said that
well
there are
ordered.
multiple gods. I said there is only one God. So what is
No, but
the
you've
thing is
also,
that
brother. So you've also said that Brahma has the power to create. You've also said these other gods have powers as well. Yes.
like for example, our Abbas or you, who is channel, you are controller of this channel, isn't it? You will allow people to enter and you will give power. So in universe also, like in any country, you will see not
so this
a
is where
single
this
space.
is where we would say that does not.
So I would say last thing and then we will finish. So now for example, truth is permanent. So what I believe is that the truth is multifaceted. It is not monogeneous, like but where there are some in Hindu philosophy also, they say everything is Brahman, or you may say that okay, Allah is there, but that multifacetedness of the Allah may not be, but I, like for example, a person on the shore may think that the ocean is only water, but then one who has dive inside, so he will see
brother,
the variety.
This is the thing. I understand what you seem to give a lot of very wonderful sort of anecdotes, but we don't really seem to get to the point, my brother. So God would be an ultimate being who there is nothing to compare with God, and we don't believe that God would be giving other beings power because he would be able to do whatever is required to be done as an individual, and we see this in a universe which is well balanced, which does not have any issues with it. So,
they want the position, so God is giving them, okay, you do it, because God is so merciful. So he just fulfills according to your desire, but then you have to deserve also. If you deserve, you will get that position.
Okay, brother, thank you very much for coming. We wish you all the best.
Okay.
We'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye. Did you want to make a comment at all, Sadat? I don't know.
Well, I mean, what I hear, and he might think this is an unfair assessment, but not just Hinduism, but many other religions as well too, and to some extent Christianity as well too. What I hear is God is one, but God is one. However, okay, there's many avatars, there's many demigods. There's only one God, but you can become a god. There's one God, but God has a son. So Islam. What I love about Islam is God is one. Period. No ifs, no buts. Let's move on. This is simple and this is clear. That's what I want to say. The other thing is also when he came, I don't know, while I was gone, did he bring up reincarnation again? Because he brought that up when he first came in.
This was not a point. I just wanted to just quickly also say, brother, so that the comments as well. Be respectful, be kind. We want to hear about what other people believe. Just because we don't believe what they believe, or we might be confused to hear certain concepts of belief, doesn't mean that we should be disrespectful to people or that we should just close them down or not want to hear what they have to say. So we've got to give people a chance, and that's how we grow, and that's how we learn, and that's how we question one another and hopefully arrive at the truth. So this channel is not just to talk to Christians or to atheists or to Jews, but yes, Hindus are welcome, Sikhs are welcome, Buddhists are welcome, people of all religions are welcome. And just because we don't understand them, he seems like a charming man, he seems like a very nice person, and he's trying to explain it to the best way that he possibly can. So please keep the comments respectful. Brother Sadat, sorry, you were saying.
Yeah, and again, it had gone on for quite a while, so it was time to move on. But in the future, maybe even if I'm not here, maybe perhaps you might ask him, because I'm sure he'll be back on. You could perhaps ask him these questions. Is that, like, number one, does he involve the use of idols and statues in his worship rituals?
Well,
Do you know the answer?
He did say that in his temple there is a statue of Krishna.
Okay.
And he did say that this comes from the description of Krishna that was in the scriptures, basically. And the painters and the people who've made the statue, they've made it to the best representation that they can. But obviously, it doesn't quite, and it can never really hit the mark. But I think this is the problem, of course, with this concept, is that as soon as you create something with your own hands, it's no longer God.
Yeah.
You know, if there's no image of God and there's no statue of God, there's no likeness of God, it doesn't matter if you have all these descriptions. Then that's a contradiction. Then,
and on the other hand,
you have descriptions where, God's eyes are like this and his hair is like this or something. I know that there are some similar verses in the Quran, but those are definitely not to be taken literally as a description, because the Quran makes it very clear, وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ, and there is nothing comparable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So anything that's in the Quran, it's some form of not a description, but it's just some way of explaining things to human beings, but in no means is describing any sort of physical attributes to God. But okay, so let's get the next guest on. We've got Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh again. Part 2 of our stream. So we're going to edit that nonsense out and have that stream put back on again. But this just shows the desperation of the haters that are out there. Not only are they vile and despicable human beings, but potentially even this late, there could be youngsters watching the stream. So these people don't care. They don't care who might see vulgar things like that. They truly reside in the gutter, and Allah will deal with them. That's what I will actually say. Allah will deal with these people, vile and disgusting people. They have no argument against Islam, and so they have to, literally bury themselves in sewage and come out with arguments or discussions or videos or vile material like this to try to somehow tarnish Islam. But alhamdulillah, all of their efforts, all of their vulgarity, all of their indecency is hot air. It's nothing. It doesn't mean a thing. It's just water on a duck's back. Alhamdulillah, Islam is spreading throughout the world. And as much as these vile, I don't even want to call them human beings, animals, I will call them animals who do things like this. As much as you hate it, as much as you despise it, as much as you deny it, your own children, inshallah, will accept it, or their children will accept it, because it is the truth. And that's the reality. So you can stew in your own vulgarity and stupidity and immaturity. And alhamdulillah, the streams will keep going on and the channel will keep going on. But anyway, Jazakallah khair, brothers, for joining us again.
Just one thing. Yeah, Abbas, just one thing, if I may add, is that that person would recognize that those things are vulgar and vile to us. Okay, it might not necessarily be to him, but he's putting it on because he knows it's vile and offensive to us. From their perspective, unfortunately, when they're embedded in this kind of a lifestyle, actually they become desensitized to these things themselves. But I would also add to what you said, which is that what such people do, these kinds of trolls, is not just offending Muslims. If you think about it, they are exposing filth to women, to Muslim women. Are there Christian women watching this? Yes. Are there atheist women possibly watching this? Yes. Are there agnostic women possibly watching this live stream? Yes. So he has done this disrespectful, offensive thing, not just to Muslims, but to all of those women. Keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, exactly. And the reality is that this would be most definitely an arrestable offense if he did this in public. And this is a public setting, because when you are putting out a video or live streaming, this is something public. Now, if you're the sort of indecent animal who would do that in public and offend all sorts of different people, like you said, Muslims, non-Muslims, Jews, Christians, atheists, and everybody else for that matter, and potentially people who are underage as well, if you'd be prepared to do that in public, then it just really shows what sort of a vile, despicable animal you are, quite frankly. And Allah will deal with you. And I don't say this very often, but people like that, Allah will deal with you. And Allah will also, when He deals with you, you will know that your vulgarity and your indecency has come back to bite you where it hurts. Allah will deal with you, inshallah. Dr. Imran, so we were talking about, obviously, Christianity. We were talking about Hinduism. We were talking about this concept within Hinduism. I know that we're going to be talking about Christianity as well, but the whole concept really is very, very confusing. It doesn't. When I speak to different Hindus, they all have a different take on what it means to be a Hindu. And some people are quite happy with the idols. Others, a seeker of truth, he was saying he's not happy with the idols, and yet he still goes to a mandir, a place of worship, where there is an idol of Krishna. So I just find it very, very confusing. And I think really Islam therefore makes sense. God is one, God is absolute, God is eternal. There is no image, statue, likeness, or anything else of God. And this is a very simple concept. And I think I remember, I can't remember who made the comment last time. I think it was, I think you were saying, Sadat, that Abdul Hakim Murad said that the concept of God has to be simple, because then it's accessible for everybody. It doesn't require linguistic gymnastics. It doesn't require a degree. It doesn't require you going to a particular school and be taught theology for years and years just to understand the very basic concepts of the Creator. And I think that's why Islam, alhamdulillah, makes so much sense. So yeah, Dr. Imran, you've got your material ready there, inshallah. We're going to discuss a few things, aren't we?
I don't have any material, but inshallah, I'm quite heartened, because this is really a sign of desperation, isn't it? There's no intellectual answer. This is an admission of failure. There is no intellectual answer. We've had atheists, we've had agnostics, we've had people of all faiths, Christians, whoever they may be. We have lots of Christian Princess fans in the crowd today. Really admission of failure, and admission that we have no intellectual way to back up our beliefs. And we understand why that is, because because of the inconsistency logically that you see throughout Christianity. And if you look at Christianity, what do we see? We see that they've got the claim is monotheism, just like the Hindus claim monotheism, but the reality is there is plurality within that. This is the same thing the brother said that you were saying, I believe in one God, but. And this is the but again that we see. So the same but is appearing in Hinduism that's appearing within Christianity. And then this is sort of made much worse by having a God who is unjust, a God who lacks the ability to forgive, and a God who is not merciful. I mean, this is what the core of Christianity is. And why would I say this? And I say this because if we start from the beginning, we have the creation of Adam and Eve. And when Adam and Eve are created, as soon as they're given this ability to make choices, have a moral decision, and making a right decision doesn't fix their nature in a positive way, but as soon as they make a negative decision, a negative, their nature is fixed into the negative way. Do you understand? So this is a disparity. When I do good, I'm not made suddenly now everything is good. I can still do bad, but when I do bad, I am now fixed in being in a bad way. So my nature is corrupted. This is now, if God has created, and if this is your perspective of God creating human beings, then this is an unjust method of creating beings, who then you will judge about what they do. Now, and then what happens is that they're sent to the earth, and we have something really horrific statements like, pain in childbearing and toiling in your sweat and blood in the earth. I mean, imagine. Childbirth is one of the most beautiful and humbling experiences that I've ever witnessed. And to think that this is a punishment from the Creator upon that woman because of what Adam or Eve may have done, and we then say this God is love and this God is just. Absolutely. I mean, this is, for me, I find this absolutely, this would be a tyrannical being in the concept. Why? Because what you're doing is you're saying that for an individual's mistake, I will punish every single woman on the earth with this childbearing pain for the time immemorial. And even now we have this, the sin has been paid for, but the pain is still there. And if you see some, how many hundreds of thousands of women die every year in childbirth because of the pain of childbirth and the blood loss, etc., that flows from them. And then we move on from that. And what we have is we have all of these human beings who sort of spread out throughout the world. And does God send them guidance? Does God give them specifically, messengers to help them no matter where they may be? The answer we have is no. The guidance is via only a select ethnic group of people who get the revelation. And again, so we have injustice upon cruelty upon injustice. So we have injustice in the creation of man, injustice in the fixing of our nature into a negative way according to Christianity, the injustice and the cruelty of punishing human beings with pain and suffering, and women particularly with childbirth. And then we get the injustice of, if you're African or you're Aboriginal or you're Inuit or wherever, God did not send you any messengers. You're left in your misguidance. You're left to struggle in your own misguidance. And then we have this idea that the only way that God can forgive the sin is He needs a payment. I'm not going to forgive you. I need blood. I need money. I need some sort of repayment for what's gone on. So, and then the price is set. Where does God set the price? According to Christianity, it's not at a level that you can pay. God doesn't look at human beings and say, look, this is your capacity. Let me set a price that you are able to pay, that I can forgive you easily or remove your sin easily. No, the price is set in a place that no human being can reach. None. So what happens then? We have this idea to counter that man, a part of this one God, but comes down to the earth in human form and has to kill himself to pay himself. And this is as bizarre as it gets. So in that transaction, there is no forgiveness, and there is no mercy. So we have an injustice in terms of creation. We have then a cruelty and punishment in terms of what happens to human beings when they're sent to the earth. We have people left in their misguidance. Only an specific ethnic group are being guided. And then we have this mechanism of salvation that requires God to pay them, be paid for really forgetting the sin, not forgiving, forgetting the sin. And even though this has been done, and we still see Christian women who are having childbirth and the pain is still ongoing. So where within all of this do we see anything that I would find remotely attractive or remotely? I don't see that God is love and Jesus loves you. I don't see any of this within this ideology. I mean, what are your thoughts about this? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think that I've over egged the pudding? Or
I think, if anything, I think you've probably underemphasized the magnitude of this injustice, and especially gender-wise, to the woman. Let's face it, we are, as men, we are not likely to face the kind of pain that the average woman, and in the pre-modern world, you could say pretty much every woman on the earth pretty much would go through during childbirth. Not one childbirth, but, multiple times. And I mean, that's one of the theories on why women generally can handle pain emotionally. They can handle physical pain better than men. And you think about this, look at this in families that and extended family and so forth. So when an elderly grandmother has back problems, I mean, she carries on, her spirit isn't broken. But when an elderly man, when his health breaks down, he gets depressed, and he's not independent anymore. But one of the theories is that because women have gone through such extreme pain through childbirth, everything else seems very easy after that. But the point here is, coming back to the point, is why would the woman get this extra punishment? Why would she have to deal with this extra pain? I remember one Christian I spoke to said, Sadat, it's not like that, because it says the man will toil and in the he has to go out and work and toil and this and that. But then you look at the modern world, and women have to do both now. They have to do both. They still have to go through the pain of childbirth, and they're also out toiling, by the sweat of their brow, or whatever the exact wording in Genesis is. So it seems that women get this extra punishment. I'm quite sure that goes back to the idea of Eve being the first one who sinned, or who was deceived, or who was tricked. And yeah, it's just massively unjust, and especially from a woman's perspective. And that's something Muslim women watching this live stream should take note of, that if you are discussing gender issues and women's issues with Christian women, take it back right to the very beginning. Take it right back to Genesis. Does that look like God telling the story, or does that look like maybe a man telling the story? Because let's be honest, this is in our nature, that we want to always deflect blame onto the other person, right? And when my kid was small, my toddler was small, and he's running around and he falls and he gets hurt, it's just natural. I'd ask my wife, why weren't you watching him? Well, maybe I should have been watching him too, right? This is just our human nature. We want to deflect blame. So when I read Genesis, somehow I can't get rid of that feeling that this is men recording this. This is men writing this and trying to make the woman come out looking bad. Whereas, of course, in the Quranic narrative, there's no indication that Eve was the first one to be tempted, or to slip, or to commit that mistake. Adam and Eve are more or less treated like a pair, or as a unit. So that's really something to reflect on.
Right. I think also so that even logically it doesn't make sense, because, to punish billions of women afterwards and billions of men afterwards, we're talking about, don't approach this tree, and they approach the tree, right? Now, they didn't kill don't kill people, and they went and killed a billion people, right? You understand what I'm saying? They approached a tree. And what does a merciful God do? Well, the merciful God teaches them how to repent. And so they repent, and a merciful God forgives them. But so this concept, and even when we look at the crucifixion, and people say, oh, well, Christ died for our sins. Okay, so you're saying there were, apparently the Romans crucified thousands upon thousands of people. And the crucifixions that you hear about, many of which were actually much graver, far more graver than the crucifixion of what is described to be of the crucifixion of Jesus, because apparently Jesus was only on the cross for a few hours. We hear of stories where people are on the cross for 2 or 3 days, suffering pain and anguish and what have you, right? So, and of course, a Christian is not going to say God died on the cross, because God can't die. So this would be the human Jesus. So this was a human body that spent 3 or 4 hours on a cross and died, apparently, and then was resurrected. And as a consequence, all of the human beings thereafter did not have to adhere to any laws, and they were just basically forgiven. So even if, when you look at it logically, it doesn't make sense. And I think that's why it makes far more sense that these things came afterwards. These things were added in afterwards. A theology developed over centuries and centuries of debate and discussion. And even till today, those issues, those debates, those discussions are going on. And there's no unified one view. You ask one Christian and they believe something. You ask another Christian and they believe something completely different. And you ask them about the crucifixion or the divinity of Christ, and they all have a different way of explaining that. And often they're contradictory. So I think that, again, and I go back to your statement with Abdul Hakim Murad, may Allah bless him, that, the very core concepts of who God is and what God is, it should be simple, something that's accessible, and they should not be confusing. Are we taking any more guests on? Because we've got loads of guests waiting, but unless the guest is prepared to put on their camera and we identify you as somebody who's been on before, we won't be able to get you on. Harakat Singh, can you give me a wave? All right, lovely. Hi, Harakat. How are you doing? You all right?
Hi, can I turn my cam off now? Or
Yes, you can. You can if you want to. Yes.
cheers. So I'd like to. My belief is that there are other paths to the one, and that Prophet Muhammad isn't the only way. And if you could maybe prove from the Quran, otherwise, I'd like to hear it.
Sure. So you believe that it's not only through the final revelation, as we believe it to be, the Quran, Islam, and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that you can attain salvation and attain paradise. You believe that you can get there through multiple ways. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, one of the things that I would say to that is, what if the different ways are explicitly contradictory to one another? Would you then still say that they were equally viable?
Yeah, definitely, because we've advanced in science quite a bit now, and I think it was one of your videos, Muhammad Hijab's videos, where he was saying that, or Hamza's videos, that a wave can be what was it, a particle at the same time, or something like that. It's called, I think, quantum something, where two things can be two different things at the same time.
I think what you're talking about is a particle that can be in two places at the same time, rather than it can be two different things at the same time. So it's either a wave or it's a particle, and the particle, as observed through, I think, is it the double slit experiment, Imran, that they found that the particle could go either, if there were two slits, it could go through the left or it could go through the right, and then you'd get a pattern at the back, which would tell you, which would show you whether it was and you'd put a monitor to monitor which slit the particle went through. And they found one of the things that within quantum physics is that the particle can apparently be in two places at the same time. But that doesn't really mean that because that's not a contradiction per se. When I talk about a contradiction, for example, in Christianity, people say Jesus is the begotten Son of God, right? Yeah. Now in Islam, Allah says, Lam yalid wa lam yulad. He begetteth not, nor is he begotten. So those two things cannot be reconciled. They cannot be both correct. Either one of them is correct or both of them are wrong, but they can't both be right. Do you accept that?
Yeah, that seems quite convincing, quite explicit. But with my faith, Sikhi, I'd say that that's not the case, because I'd like to think that, Sikhi and Islam, we fit quite nicely with each other. We believe that, in monotheism, I think I've said this before I've come on, that you believe that monotheism believes that sort of God is outside of the creation and that he created us and he watches over us. But then Hinduism is pantheism. They believe in the complete opposite. They say that everything is God, the universe is God, that God and the universe can't exist without each other. They can't exist without each other. So they see a tree, they bow down to it. They see a rat, they bow down. They see a person, they bow down. But then what Guru Nanak Dev Ji does is he merges these two together. He says to the Muslims, you're right. God is outside of the universe and he's watching over us. But then he says to the Hindus that you're right as well, that this universe is God. You know, we see in scripture, the one permeates everything and he pervades everything. And Guruji says, there is only oneness. There are no two things. So there's plenty of examples. The very first thing that Guruji said when he come out of the river, the first words he said was, there is no Hindu, there is no Muslim. And had there been a Sikh at that time, Guruji would have said, there is no Sikh. Guruji would have said, there is no Sikh, because all he saw was the oneness in different forms. You know, he said, so we have Kabir.
So Harkira, sorry to sort of interrupt, but so are you saying therefore that it's okay to be a pantheist? Because according to Guru Nanak, and according to Sikhism and Sikhi, God is one and God has no image and God has no partners, and pantheism is not a concept that Sikhs would agree to. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we're not monotheism, we're not pantheism, we're neither of them. You know, we're sort of in between. The closest thing is panentheism, which is that God is separate from the world, but that he is the universe as well. You know, so there is Kabirji, who's for you he's a Muslim, for us he's a Sikh. You know, his writings are in our scripture. He says, Kabir, tu karta tu hua, tu karta tu karta tu hua, mujh mein raha na hu. Guru Gobind Singh Ji says, Sab Gobind hai, Gobind bin nahi koi. There is only God. Everything is God. There's nothing but God.
Okay.
So we believe that.
Brother Imran, if you'd like to add anything to that, because
sure. So
I just find the concept a little bit difficult, because pantheism is obviously a specific thing, you know, a belief, which is that God is everything, God is everywhere. Monotheism is that God is one, God is absolute, God is only. I didn't realize that you could have something in between, because if you had something in between, that becomes a form of pantheism. But anyway, that's my penny's worth. But Dr. Imran, if you want to.
So welcome back, Harkirat. Sorry, I'm saying your name wrong.
Yeah.
So you've said at the beginning that you believe that there are many paths to the one. Yeah. Which is sort of perennialism. Yeah, there's many paths to the Creator. This is what you're saying, yeah? So you don't have to be anything specific. So does that mean that you believe the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was a messenger from the Creator?
Sorry, did you ask me if I believe that Prophet Muhammad is a
messenger from the Creator?
You know, I've never read the Quran, but, you know, I don't believe he's the Prophet. I know he's the Prophet.
Okay, that's excellent.
You know, because of all the, you know, because he can't be fake.
Alhamdulillah, I agree with you that, you know, obviously for different reasons, but I definitely agree with you. So then the question then comes, because we have verifiably the statements of the Prophet, peace be upon him. We have verifiably the Quran that the Prophet, peace be upon him, was given, and we have written down. And when we turn to it and we open the Quran and we look, for example, at chapter 3, verse 85, it says, whoever seeks a way other than Islam, it will never be accepted from them, and in the hereafter they will be among the losers. So we have someone who you agree and I agree is a messenger from the Creator, who is clearly stating that there is no other way, that there is only one way. And there are many other statements like this. So what do you, as a Sikh who believes that there are many ways, and also that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is one of those ways in a valid way, who brings this we can verify that this is exactly what the Prophet, peace be upon him, received in terms of revelation. We have an unbroken chain of these verses being passed down from the time of the Prophet to now, verbally and in written form. how do you interpret that? How do you reconcile that?
I would say that I've heard Muhammad Hijab say that Islam means submission, and that's what we're trying to do as well. You know, we're trying to get to submit as well. You know, I don't want to say we don't cut our hair, so therefore we're in submission, because there's people that, you know, do bad things, awful things, and you know but yeah, we're trying to do submission as well. We're trying to follow that as well. So I'd probably agree with that statement.
Okay, so what you've
I don't
it's interesting
believe that it
sure.
contradicts. Yeah.
So what you
you
have done very interestingly is you've taken the general meaning of Islam as opposed to the specific meaning of Islam. So we have other clarifications in the Quran of the statement. So for example, Allah says in the Quran, I don't remember the reference, but Al-Yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum. This day I have perfected my favor upon you and given you your religion and perfected the religion for you and given you your religion as Islam.
Yeah.
So now, what that statement is referring to is the culmination and the completion of the teachings of Islam, and that specifically is referring to those teachings that were given by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who also said, and just to sort of further emphasize, that he is the final messenger, that there will be no one after him. Many statements like this. I am like, if you see a house in which there are which is almost built and there is one brick missing, I am that last brick. I am al-aqib, I am the last. After me there will be no other. These very, very clear statements that this is an end of the prophethood and there will be no others that can claim that they have received a message from the divine. So we have this person, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. You agree and I agree both that we are that this is a messenger from the Creator. We have his statements verifiable from the time of the Prophet until now, that we can trace back historically, and the statements are clearly saying that there isn't no other way. So so now the term Islam is not being used in a general sense, but it's being used in a specific sense of referring to the teachings that the Prophet peace be upon him specifically brought. How then would you deal with that? For example, what would be your way of dealing with it?
So, you know, I'd only believe in that Prophet Muhammad is the messenger and prophet if it was perfect. No, sorry. What I mean is, yeah, I do believe that Islam is perfect. But when you said that you gave a quote or something, you said that by the way, forgive me for all my mistakes and everything, but yeah, so you said he's the final prophet and messenger. You know, I think that's a beautiful thing, because in Sikhi we don't have any prophets or messengers. We only have a guru. So if he is the final he's the final prophet and final messenger, that's fine. It doesn't contradict that, because we only have a guru. So yeah.
Okay, and so then just a follow-up question, and alhamdulillah, so we have a lot of agreement. You believe that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is the messenger from a Creator. You believe that Islam is perfect, alhamdulillah. So then why do you not accept the perfect way? Why would you have another? If something is perfect, surely there can't be anything better than that.
I think that there is only one truth out there, and the saints, the holy people, the messengers, the Buddha, they've said, hey, look, I found a way to get there. Depending on the sort of person you are, some people might find one way works for them, and another person might find that another way is nice for them. I think that, I think that Buddha will get you there. Guru Nanak Dev Ji, he will get you there. I believe that Prophet Muhammad will also get you there. And I believe they're all perfect and they're all coming with truth.
So when you have many perfect things that say opposite things than each other, then that's sort of a logical contradiction, in the sense that one religion, one text from a perfect religion is saying that there is only one way. And then you have other texts that are saying, it also makes an exclusivity claim. So Christianity says Jesus is the only way. We have other religions that also make similar claims of exclusivity. If they're all perfect, then isn't that a contradiction in terms, because they're not saying the same things as each other, therefore they cannot be the same. A is not B in this case. So why would you say that they're all perfect and all are fine, and all, when they all essentially have fundamental disagreements and contradict each other in terms of being exclusive?
Yeah, that's a tough question.
Yeah.
Please, Brother Sadat.
Yeah. Sorry, how is it pronounced? Harkirat? Is that right?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
That's great. Okay, thanks. So yeah, Harkirat. I mean, look, like here's the thing, right? I mean, I grew up with Hindu friends, Sikh friends, and everything. So I mean, I understand that what you're saying is something. It sounds. I don't mean this in a condescending way. Forgive me, but like it sounds very nice. It sounds very flowery. It's not likely to offend anyone. It's something you can say to your Hindu friends. They'll be happy with it. You can say that to the average Muslim and he'll be happy with it. Okay, hey, as long as you don't say anything bad about my religion, you think I'm fine. You're not trying to convert me. So on a social level, I mean, I can see how it's kind of easier to go with this way of thinking that, look, man, everyone has a path. All paths lead to the truth. They all lead to God, all that. But the only problem with that is, Harkirat, is that when you really sit down, when you philosophically reflect on it, when you actually logically reflect on what you're saying, at some point, Harkirat, without any help from the brothers on EF Dawah, without any help from Muhammad Hijab, you on your own, when you logically reflect on the things you're saying, I think you'll realize that they're inconsistent and they contradict each other. So, for example, when you say that God is other than us, or God is separate from us, but at the same time, he's also part of the universe and the universe is also God. Just sit down and reflect on these words. Think about these words, Harkirat, and you realize there's a contradiction. There's a further contradiction with Islam, because Islam says that no, Allah is not the universe. He works through the universe. You see signs of God in the universe, his ayat in the universe, pointing back to him. But the universe itself intrinsically is not God. It's not intrinsically divine. It's divine made, but it's not divine. So now how can you say that the belief that I just expressed and articulated right now is equally true with your belief? Like if your belief is God is separate and he's the universe is also God, I'm saying no, the universe is not God. God is separate from the universe. And now you want to say that what I believe and what you believe, they are both equally true. They're both equally true. It doesn't make sense, right? To use another example that a lot of the viewers of EF Dawah might be more familiar with, the New Testament, as commonly understood, the New Testament says Jesus was crucified and he died on a cross. The Quran also says, as understood by all Muslims, is that Jesus did not die on the cross. Okay. Now you can say, well, this isn't important. I mean, that's one option for you as a Sikh. You can say, hey, it just doesn't really matter. God doesn't really care about what you believe about what happened to Jesus. That's an option for you. But the option that you don't have is you can't say, well, the Bible and the Quran are equally true. The New Testament and the Quran are equally true. The statement that Jesus died on the cross and the statement that Jesus didn't die on the cross, both of these statements are equally true. This option, logically, my brother, Harkirat, this option you don't have. You have other options. Yet another option you have is to say, well, I respect both of these beliefs. I respect the Christian belief that Jesus died on the cross for their sins. I respect the Muslim belief Jesus didn't die on the cross. But you can't say both of these statements are factually accurate. Both of them are factually 100% true. Like logically, that's just an option, brother, that is not available to you. The other contradiction that I kind of see is, by your own admission, you said that had there been a group of Sikhs at the time of Guru Nanak, then Guru Nanak would not just have said that there's no Hindu and there's no Muslim. He would have said there's no Hindu and there's no Muslim and there's no Sikh. Like, just be human beings, just be good, enlightened souls. Don't call yourself any of these things. And yet you do identify yourself as Sikhi, right? You do identify yourself as a Sikh. So that would be yet another question for you. Why call yourself a Sikh, right? Just call yourself a human being then. And then finally, just a quick point. This is a point I made to Seeker of Truth, the Hindu brother that comes on the show sometimes. I'll make the same point to you because I think it applies equally to all Eastern religions that believe in reincarnation and the idea of like perennialism, all paths lead to the truth. So I'll end with this, brother Harkirat. Okay, look. If Islam is correct, right, then you are possibly going to be in hot water. You know, you possibly will be in a difficult, compromised position. You could be in trouble on the Day of Judgment, is what I'm trying to say. You could be in big trouble with God on the Day of Judgment if you didn't accept Islam as your religion. On the other hand, if Sikhism is true, what you're telling me, what I'm understanding from what you're saying is that I don't really have anything to worry about as a Muslim. Like, if Sikhism is true, no problem. I can still be right with God. I'm still good. I'll still attain whatever good thing God wants for me in the next life. As long as I didn't join ISIS, I didn't join Al-Qaeda, I didn't blow up in a city. I was just a regular, normal Muslim trying to live my life, trying to do my worship. You're telling me on the Sikh view, you're saying I have nothing to worry about. We're telling you on the Islamic view, you would have something to worry about if you didn't become Muslim, if you didn't recognize Islam. So what I'm trying to say here, brother, is that on your worldview, there is no dire, pressing need for me to have to investigate and consider Sikhism as my personal way of life and my religion. But on the Islamic worldview, there is a dire, pressing need that you investigate and that you consider Islam as your way of life. In other words, Islam is the safer way to go, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. You've given me a lot to think about. I'll definitely have a think about it. I don't have much more to add because, you know, I'm quite new to all of this myself. But to respond to what you said, yeah, you said that about what I said about Guru Nanak Dev Ji saying that the first thing he said was there is no Hindu, there is no Sikh, there is no Muslim. Not that we're all human beings, but that there is only God. That there is only God, you know. And even the angel of death, when he comes, I have to have it in my mind that yes, even that is a God, that is God in a robe, that is God in a different robe. Heaven and hell is just different levels of the same one. Now, the Hindu deities, they are just personifications, different personifications of the same one. And that so also you said about
brother, what I would advise you to do is, obviously there's quite a lot of points we've made, and I understand it might be quite difficult to digest everything in one go, so I don't want to feel that we're sort of pressurizing. What might be good for you is perhaps watch this stream again and maybe just write down, you know, some of the questions that we've put to you, and ponder on those, think about those, and by all means ask people of knowledge within Sikhism, and then do come back to us, with answers, because we want to engage with obviously people with their faiths who have knowledge. And like you said, you're quite new to this, so we don't want to sort of feel like we're sort of badgering you. But
no.
Definitely go back to this stream, look at some of the questions that we've sort of put to you. I think Brother Sadat makes a very, very poignant point, actually, because he says, that following Sikhism, as far as you're concerned, as following Islam, means that we're on the correct path, that we will hopefully attain paradise, that we will attain God's favor. So in that sense, there's no reason for anybody to necessarily be any religion. If we're correct, they might as well follow Islam. But as far as we're concerned, and as Brother Sadat pointed out, that once the last messenger has come down and the last message has come down, then it becomes incumbent upon everyone to be obedient to that message, to accept that message, because it's from God. But look over at the stream, and then hopefully look at the points that we've raised, and then please do come back to us with those. Is that okay?
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
Would you like to add anything before you go, and then we can maybe get the next guest on?
Can I add something?
Yeah. Go ahead, Hamza.
I just wanted to ask our friend here, do you believe what you believe because it makes you feel warm and fuzzy at night? Or do you believe what you believe because it's the truth?
No, I definitely know it's the truth.
Well, you believe
a bit of both, actually.
So you believe Sikhism is the truth?
Yeah, definitely.
So you believe Islam is false?
Nah.
You have to. You can't believe both are true.
I'm not convinced just yet.
No, I know, I understand that. But the point here is this. If you believe Sikhism is true, then that means you believe Islam is false. Because they can't both be true. Because they're contrary in teachings. So you'll believe in what you believe because it makes you feel more... I'm sorry?
I don't think they are contradictory.
Well, okay. In Sikhism, do you trim your mustache or grow your mustache?
No, but see, now you're coming on to... We keep it.
And we take it. So the question is, who's right and who's wrong? Why'd you keep it?
Yeah, submission.
How is it submitting to who?
Yeah. No, I think, there are different paths. There are different ways.
No. You can't. This is the problem, you see. Islam doesn't say there's different paths. Islam says there's one path. Yeah. So if Islam says there's one path and you're saying there's different paths, then you're saying Islam is false again. You can't have it all ways, my friend. You can't just say things to make people feel happy with what you're saying. You have to believe something is true and get on with it. Yeah. And realize that you can't reconcile it with another thing. Do you get me? So Sikhism and Islam can't be true. Sikhism and Hinduism can't be true. Islam and Christianity can't be true. Judaism and atheism can't be true. You cannot reconcile any religion. And the concept of the absolute truth and the law of non-contradiction tells you there can only be one truth. Yeah. And so what you have to do is, I don't personally believe you'd be a Sikh if you were born in Barbados.
Probably not.
Definitely not. So you're only a Sikh because of your upbringing and your family and your tribe and such and social conditioning. Yeah?
Yeah.
Whereas I'm an Englishman who's a Muslim. So for me, it doesn't matter where I'm born in the world. I'll find my way to the truth because truth is truth. And it wasn't easy, me becoming Muslim. It cost me so many things in my life, but truth is truth. Now, you either believe what you believe, like I said. You have to ask yourself this question. Why do I believe what I believe is true? Is it because my life is easy this way? It makes me feel happy, it's content? Or is it because it's the truth? And if it is the truth, then stand up and say, well, if I believe what I believe is the truth, then that means what you believe isn't true. And here's why. Do you get me?
Yeah, but I don't think that the mustache point is sufficient for me to sort of say that, yeah, Islam, there's only one right and everyone else has to be wrong because of that distinction there.
No,
It would have to be something ideological in the scripture that says explicitly that only this way is the correct way, if that makes sense.
No, but that's the point. I'm not saying the mustache is the thing. The mustache is what proves the rule, that you cannot say both can be reconciled when one teaches complete opposite to the other, and you believe what you believe is divine, and I believe what I believe is divine. Yeah. So they can't both be divine because they're contrary.
So the point is not the mustache, Harkirat, but the point is that's a small example that illustrates what I was saying earlier on, that both religions cannot be 100% true. See, I mean, I can meet you halfway in that as a Sikh, you can believe that there are some things in Islam that are true. There are some things in Christianity that are true. I, as a Muslim, believe there are some things in Hinduism that are true. But to believe that they are equal, they are equally true, they are both 100% correct, that logically you can't maintain that position. You see, Harpreet, I'll just also take this opportunity. Sorry, just one point is, I mean, obviously, you're someone obviously who's raised in the West, and it sounds like English is your first language. But I just wanted to take this opportunity to share with those Sikh brothers and sisters who are watching that. On the website quranhub.net, maybe someone can put that in the comments. From there you can choose the languages of the Quran translation, and they have Punjabi available there. So that Punjabi there is in the Gurmukhi script. So that's not for you necessarily, Harkirat, but if you have relatives or friends or other Sikh people who are watching who might be more comfortable reading the Gurmukhi translation of the Quran, you can get that at quranhub.net.
Can I ask you one question before I go?
Sure.
Why do Muslims trim their mustache?
Because the Prophet ﷺ told us to trim a mustache and let our beards grow.
So the simple answer is because the Prophet of God, peace be upon him, that's how he instructed us, and that's what he told us. That's the simple answer. Now, what's the wisdom in that? People can always conjecture what the wisdom of it could be, right? Could be because the soup gets stuck in your mustache. You have a big mustache, you're drinking soup, milk it's unhygienic. I would actually prefer to give the example of the pubic hair and the underarm hair. So that is something that like a Muslim should be trimming that or shaving that on a regular basis. So and clearly there's a hygienic aspect to that. I think that's a pretty safe guess to say that there's a hygienic aspect to the shaving, to the removal of the underarm hair and the pubic hair. It's a good idea.
You know what they say about that the man with the big mustache, isn't it? He has no secrets. You know what he's had for his breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Harkirat, thank you very much for coming on, and you're more than welcome to come on again.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
you're welcome.
But on a side point, because Harkirat was emphasizing commonalities and he wasn't so comfortable discussing differences, and that's why we were trying to bring those differences to light. But as a side point now, I will mention that, yes, sometimes it does happen that religions have different forms, but the underlying meanings might actually connect in some more meaningful way. So, for example, I mean, we cut our hair, we go to the barber, get our hair cut, it goes in the garbage. But from what I understand, there were Sahaba who, when they cut their hair, they used to bury the hair, right? So they had a different way, perhaps, of showing respect or honoring the hair. But
I think that was something else. I think that was more to do with so people couldn't do black magic with your.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. No, that's a good point. Thank you, Hamza. That's a good point. And I was going to say, it still doesn't change the fact that we are not only allowed, but we are prescribed to trim certain body hair whereas a baptized Sikh is not supposed to do that as part of their religious worship. They're not supposed to do that. So there are going to be contradictions that you just can't reconcile. Like, no matter how much you might want to, there are some contradictions you just can't reconcile. So I think it's good to be frank about that and to just discuss those differences obviously in a civil diplomatic way, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I had a very good friend called Surinder, really lovely. I would say he was a gentleman because he was just so, he held himself beautifully, and I really liked him very much. And I lost touch with him, but hopefully I might, after this stream, try to just message him again. And he was very practicing Sikh, and he had a turban, and as I say, charming, lovely guy. And I used to always talk to him about Sikhism, and we talk about Islam and what have you as well. And a lot of the teachings, actually, when he told me about Guru Nanak and the teachings of Guru Nanak, it was very like pure monotheism. God is one, God is absolute, God is eternal. There's no image, statue of God. And he said to me that even the gurus, even Guru Nanak said, do not worship me. Do not pray to me. Do not bow to me. And then I asked him that, why is it that in Gurdwaras they have pictures of the gurus, and that people do sometimes pray to the images of the gurus and things. And he said, strictly speaking, this is actually not acceptable in Sikhism, because the authentic teachings of Sikhism are that God is one, and that the gurus were people sent by God, but they were not in themselves gods to be worshipped. So I think the whole point here is that, and this is where the monotheism within Islam, I think, is you do find signs of it in the older scriptures, whether it's the Rig Vedas or whether it's the scriptures of the Sikhs, the sayings of the gurus. You do find this remnants of this monotheism. You obviously have monotheistic beliefs within, and the Jews believe in the strict form of monotheism, even though when we look throughout history, idolatry did creep in many times, in fact, and then it was brought back to monotheism. Within Christianity, we have this many sayings from Jesus, peace be upon him, that are actually pure monotheistic. When he attributes his miracles to the finger of God, when he attributes his worship directed to God, to the Creator, when he says the only true God, referring to the Father. So we do find the remnants of this, but the absolute pureness, the purity of this message, the clarity of this message, the rigidity of this message, really we find in Islam. And I think that's why Muslims have done, many things throughout history, but idol worship and the worshipping of idols never crept into mainstream Islam. You might have very obscure, a few hundred people here or a few hundred people here doing something very dubious. But it never crept into the theology again, because this strict monotheism was adhered to, and it was very much enforced that you do not do these things. But so we have a next guest who's also.
Can I just say one? Can I just say one last thing about the Sikhs?
Yeah,
just quickly.
Of course.
Because, like I said, I'm not Sikh bashing. In the markets, I've come across so many Sikhs. And honestly, they're so nice. They're such good neighbors. They really are good, honestly. And some of my wholesalers I get my scarves from are the same. So I have no problem with that. But this kumbaya flex. So here's a tactic, right? If they come along saying, all religions are all the same, all on different paths going to God, and they try to make this idea that all religions are the same, just ask them, how would you react if your daughter became Muslim? And you see a completely different reaction. So you don't really believe.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, because exactly. Because if you really believed that Islam is a safe ship to sail, then why would you have a problem getting on it? Or why would you have a problem if your daughter got on that ship or your son got on that ship? I mean, the analogy I wanted to give was, look, if we're on the Titanic is going down, and me and Abbas are having a disagreement about which lifeboat to get on. Abbas is saying lifeboat A is safe. I see something unsafe about lifeboat A. I say, Abbas, what do you think about lifeboat B? And Abbas agrees with me. He says, yeah, that is a safe boat. That's okay. So wouldn't it make sense if Abbas and I want to stay together? Like, wouldn't it make sense we both get in lifeboat B because we both agree that's a safe boat. It'll carry us to the destination. Whereas we don't both agree on lifeboat A. So this is what I'm trying to tell our Hindu and Sikh and Buddhist friends, that if you mean it, if you are agreeing that Islam is a legitimate, valid path to God or salvation or nirvana or whatever, we don't see your path as a valid or correct path. You have more reasons to consider Islam and to investigate Islam, because we're apparently we're all in agreement that Islam is a safe way to go, right? If that's what you really mean. One more thing was, sorry, I'm stretching this out a bit. It's just that I've spoken to Sikhs who have themselves told me that there is an inner debate within Sikhism as to Guru Nanak's status. So yes, I mean, what your friend said to you, Abbas, is not incorrect, that the Gurus taught they're human beings and not that we should worship them, but we should worship God. But there is like a sizable contingent or group of Sikhs who believe that it's not just the divine spark, it's not just the divine light, but God himself is somehow dwelling within Guru Nanak and the Gurus. Right? Even if you discard this idea, just the fact that our last guest was saying that the universe is also God, the bottom line for me is this still, to me, it comes back to God is one, but. I keep on hearing this again and again. God is one, but you and I are also God because, the universe is God and everything is God and all that. So Islam takes that but, that however, that caveat out of it, says God is one, period. And if you reflect on it, this was the true teaching of all of the prophets.
Yeah. So I think the only other guest that we have on who's got the camera on is Harvey. Harvey, can you give me a quick? Can you just give me a quick hello there? Just wave your hand at me, Harvey. Oh, so as soon as I called his name, he has. Yeah. Okay. So we can't get you on. So we've got a couple of other. So okay, Harvey's back on. Harvey, can you just give me a quick wave? Lovely. Are you okay to have your camera on, Harvey, or do you want to have your camera off when you come on the screen? You don't mind? Okay. All right. Lovely. All right. Let's get Harvey on then. Harvey, welcome to the stream.
Hi guys.
How you doing? You okay?
I'm good. Thank you. How you guys? All right?
We're doing fine, thank you, Harvey.
Yeah, I just got to say quickly that I logged in earlier on, and unfortunately, I saw that horrible bit of video, which it's not nice for anyone. And I saw I totally agree with what you guys are saying, that it's not appropriate, and some people are just, they just don't care about other people and their views. So a serious lack of disrespect there.
Lovely. Harvey, so from your surname Singh, I'm taking it that you are a Sikh person as well, is that right?
My heritage is Sikh, but I'm an atheist.
Okay. Yeah. So do you not believe, would you say you're a hard atheist in the sense that you don't believe that a creator exists, or are you more of an agnostic that you don't know?
I think properly the way I'd say to myself is I can't justify a creator in light of what I've seen how I understand nature to work and how the universe works. That's probably the best way to say it. So, I think because what's happened is that I've seen a couple of videos online, and people are defining atheists as all sorts, and when you say I'm an atheist, you're entailing a lot of situations there. So all I can tell you from my point of view is probably best describe my view, and my view is that I'm more about nature, and nature is probably the best explanation, and that's the best way I can put it.
So what is it in nature that signifies to you that a creator doesn't exist?
Well, it's like nature functions. Find the model that is shown from science, the basic theories they have, they all seem to fit together better for me.
Harvey,
yeah.
What are you talking about? Okay. What does nature explain?
Oh, sorry, Hamza. 1 second. Sorry about this, mate. The reason why I came on, I was actually wanted to speak to. Is it the Dr. Imran?
Dr. Imran. Yeah. Unfortunately, he's got a very early start tomorrow, and so he had to actually go early.
Oh, right. Because the reason why I was logging on is that I saw, it was a couple of months ago, so I can't remember the whole thing, but I think you were there as well, Abbas. You guys were chatting with, in Speaker's Corner with Phil.
Skydive Phil, yeah.
Yeah, and I found those videos quite interesting. And I was just wondering that, I don't know when they were filmed, but was there anything that Skydive Phil said chimed with you or clicked with you? I mean, I'm not trying to say that you're going to leave Islam. I mean, obviously, you're totally dedicated. You're going to be dedicated all your life. That's fine. But was there anything that you got from those videos? Well, should I?
You see, the problem with discussing with Sky.
Abbas, just before you answer, wasn't that video called "Don't Know of the Gaps"?
Yeah, so we've had several discussions with Skydive Phil. That was one that you had as well, Hamza, with him. And then me and Imran have had discussions with him. I think so. We've had lots of discussions with Skydive Phil. The problem is that, as Hamza just sort of alluded to, what Skydive Phil tends to do is that he says, well, there are several models to how the universe got here, but it could be this and it might be that and it might be this, but we don't know.
Actually, sorry, Abbas. The video I'm thinking of was called "Any Argument in a Storm." So 1 minute you're debating with Skydive Phil, and his response is using relativity as a response, and the next thing you know, he's using quantum mechanics as a response, and you're like, well, wait a minute, quantum mechanics and relativity are mutually exclusive. They can't both be true. The problem you have with Skydive Phil is he's not giving you a what he believes to be true. He's giving you what an argument somebody could make. And even if those arguments from different perspectives and from different viewpoints and from different belief systems, he still uses them, which is completely disingenuous when you're seeking truth. Because he must know if relativity is true, quantum mechanics isn't. If quantum mechanics is true, then relativity isn't. They can't both be true.
I might have to disagree with you, Hamza, there.
Yeah, you can disagree as you like.
Yeah. The reason why I say that is that we've got these two theories, and them independently both work. So the problem,
and they both be true.
Problem, the
problem, and they both be true.
Well, at the moment they are, ain't they? Because they're proven to be true.
No, they're not.
The real problem is that you can't marry the two together. Yeah?
No, the problem is if you go along with string theory, that goes against relativity.
Well, string theory is far from being anywhere near even a working solution.
No, but that's where quantum mechanics takes you.
Yeah, quantum, as far as I can understand, and if I'm wrong, that's fine. I don't mind being wrong, because I'm only an ordinary person. I'm not a scientist or anything like that. You know what I mean? So I'm an electrician. So, but quantum mechanics is, if you hear me out, quantum mechanics is true because we have electronics, don't we? They often say that we won't have electronics, we won't have the modern world we got without our theories of quantum mechanics. So quantum mechanics is true. Relativity is true because the satellite technology that we got and everything else won't work without relativity. So that's true in its respect. Now,
let's go back to what you said before. You're not a scientist, so you don't really understand the stuff because they're contrary to each other.
I certainly don't understand it like a scientist, but I do understand that. I mean, do you disagree with what I just said? That does electronics depend on quantum mechanics?
Look, what I'm saying to you is very, very simple. The way when you go into quantum mechanics and it leads to string theory, that's going against relativity. Yeah. So the problem
I'm not
you've
following
got.
you there.
Well, of course you're not. The point is, that go and do your research on it, and you'll realize what I'm saying is true. Because even and here's the thing, you see, even Skydive Phil admitted it in the video. In the video, we actually said to him that this is contrary to that. He goes, "Yeah, I know. This is why we called it any argument in a storm." Where he would,
and also Hamza, you know, Skydive Phil once said to me and Imran, he said that, you know, you might be able to sort of go to a molecule or an atom, and you might go to a quark, and then you might eventually get to a string, and then the string might be it. That might be just as a hard fact that it just exists. So the point is that even Phil has to come to a point where you get to the smallest thing, and then it exists just as a hard fact with no explanation of where it came from or how it got there or how the laws govern. And I think, Harvey, to be really honest, for me, the concept of accepting a creator logically, just as you yourself, you're an electrician, right?
Yeah.
You take out your meter and you measure an electric current, okay? You don't assume ever that somehow this energy, this electrical energy, came from nothing. You always attribute it to something where it's come from, right?
Yeah.
So you're never going to come to a situation where you're going to say, "Oh, you know what? This voltage here, you know, I can't explain where it's come from, but it must have just popped up from nothing." You're always going to attribute it to a cause. You're always going to attribute it to an event that took place before it, to generate it, to create it, aren't you?
Yeah.
And so when we look at the universe, Harvey, we say that anything that's contingent, i.e. made up of different parts, okay, that could have been assembled in a multitude of ways, it requires an explanation of how it got there, where it got there. The universe has hydrogen, it has helium, it has energy. And therefore it seems reasonable to ask, well, where did this all come from?
Of course. Okay.
And ultimately, regardless of whether you believe in multiverse or you believe in, you know, this universe as being everything or whatever, ultimately the reasonable question is, where did it come from?
Yeah.
How is it organized in the way that it's organized? How are there all these laws in the universe that we can now unravel? Okay.
Yeah.
And the thing is with science tells you how things work. It shows you the mechanism, and I have no problem with that. Okay.
Yeah.
But who set up that mechanism?
Yeah.
Who made it work in that way in the first place?
Yeah.
And that's the fundamental question, you see. So I think it's not unreasonable to look at the universe and say, look, where did it come from?
Yeah.
And if there's a material explanation to where it came from, but then what explains that material explanation?
Yeah.
And I think logically, eventually you arrive at something that has to be in existence as a brute fact that can explain everything else.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you see my point?
I'm 100% with you. I mean, because I've heard the arguments about do you get something from nothing? Yeah, and if I may assume, you guys definitely don't believe you get something from nothing. Yeah, myself as an atheist, I don't believe you get something from nothing neither. You know what I mean? Because you just try to imagine nothing. It's impossible. It's just one of those impossible things. So you can't get something from nothing. So we're both in agreement with that. Right? So we got that. But now the bit that I sort of like fall down on, and if I'm wrong, you guys can explain it to me now, is that you've said that we go back to the Big Bang point. So all the science between now and the Big Bang, you guys are all right with. I'm all right with that. Are you guys all right with that?
I have no issue with if that's how God decided to create the universe with this enormous Big Bang. From a singularity, if that's how God chose to create the universe, I have no issue with that, to be honest.
Yeah.
The Quran doesn't give us an explanation in terms of how the beginning of the universe was. It just says God created it, willed it into existence. That's what we believe, basically.
Yeah. So this is the part that, like I said, I've made the assumption. If I'm wrong, you can definitely correct me. That you guys are fine with science and all its methodologies and all its mistakes, but eventually it's got to the point where we're here and we look back in time, and the Big Bang was that, and we are both in acceptance of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we accept.
Harvey, I got a question for you, mate. I got a question for you. In your worldview, how do you get from the physics to biology?
From physics to biology.
In your worldview, yeah.
Yeah.
Big Bang is physics. How do you get to biology?
But if I can just finish off what I was saying, Hamza, is that all right? Is that when the model that I was saying I feel that I'm not quite understanding, right? Is that you're saying that we get back to the Big Bang, so we're in some sort of like super hot condensed state, and we're both in agreement with that, yeah. So from your point of view, you believe a creator started that process?
Yes.
Is that right?
So we believe that, as you said, things do not come from nothing. So 0 plus 0 plus 0 will always be 0, right? This is how the axiom, foundational concept of mathematics are understood, right?
Yeah.
So in other words, if science says to us, and I think the evidence is quite strong, for singularity. So looking at it from the scientific angle, it seems to make sense, yes, that there was a singularity, and this came from the singularity. And of course, we would then say that what brought the singularity and this expansion into existence, and we would say that would be God. Yeah.
Okay, so we're both in agreement that the science and the formulas and whatever you want to call them are the best explanation to get to the Big Bang point.
Yes.
And then, so we're okay with those scientific theories. I mean, they seem to be the best ones that we've got so far. So we're both good to go with that as of today, as we're talking now. I'm good with that. You're good with that.
Yes.
So then the bit then I don't understand is that you've got a creator who pushes the first button, as it were. Yeah. Is that right?
Well, we believe that the universe came into existence by the creator. And I accept your wording is actually quite good, Harvey, because looking at the science, the best explanation that we can see from science is that that is how the universe came into existence.
Yeah.
But however, now the science or the scientists would say that however it occurred, occurred because of some naturalistic process.
Yeah.
We would say that the ultimate process that brought the universe into existence would be a supernatural cause, i.e. the creator. That would be our argument.
That would be your argument. So to me then, and if you could explain this, your start point is two things: a creator and the universe in a condensed point. Is that?
Well, the creator would be unique and separate from his creation. We would not believe that he's part of the creation.
Is it fair to say there's two entities then? There's a condensed universe and a creator.
So we would say that the creator is eternal.
Yeah.
And we would say that everything else that was in existence, because remember, from our perspective, the only thing that we are aware of is our universe.
Yeah.
Now there might be other universes, we don't know. And there certainly are other realms that we would say that are outside of this universe, so heaven, hell, etc., etc. But we would say that the existence of the creator would be eternal, and everything else would be creation.
Okay, so this is exactly where I can't work out your view, or I think there's a contradiction, and please explain to me if it isn't. Sure. Is that you will have a creator eternal, and then you have a universe that's not eternal. So the universe came from nothing, or was it always there? And if it was always there, that means even though it's in a condensed state, it would be eternal. You can only have one choice or the other.
Okay, so scientifically, it's not accepted to be eternal. The universe, it's a hard fact that I think Hawkins, many other scientists have said that the mathematics, they all point to a beginning of the universe. So science doesn't accept an eternal universe. We don't accept an eternal universe either. We do say that the universe came into existence at a specific time. So I would say that the Islamic point of view is very, very much in line with
Abbas, I think what Harvey's digging at, basically, like, we do believe Allah can create from nothing. We have no issue with that.
Yes.
So this is what Harvey's struggling with. Because he thinks we're following the scientific model of something can't come from nothing.
I see.
Where our premise is the fact that the creator can create whatever he likes as he likes. Yeah. So he doesn't need any material to make the universe. He can just make the universe. That's what we believe.
And Harvey, like, I don't know if you were watching the beginning of this stream, but the exact same question came up at the beginning of this stream as well too. And so what I said at that point. Yeah, what I said at that point was that, like, it still wouldn't put us in the same boat. Because if what you mean to say is that, well, if Muslims believe God created material out of nothing, well, that's no different than what some atheists believe. It's not the same, because to say that God created something out of nothing, to me, makes more sense than nothing created something out of nothing. You see what I mean? So at least in the first situation, there is an agent. Like, something was created out of nothing. God was the agent. In the second scenario, which would be possibly the atheist scenario, is that something was created out of nothing by nothing. There was no agent, right?
Yeah.
That makes less sense to me.
I accept if that's your point, right? So that clears up something. It leaves questions in my mind about what's going on.
What question does it leave?
That like I said, we both agreed at the start that, and I've heard it many times as well, that you don't get something from nothing.
No, but this is the problem. This is the problem. You've heard it wrong. You may have heard, because here's the problem you've got. You've heard Muslims say this, but they're saying it to atheists who actually do believe that the universe came from nothing.
Right. Yeah.
Right. They're not saying that our belief is based upon, we don't believe something came from nothing. We believe Allah created as he wills, when he wills, from nothing. He doesn't need material to create something. So what you've heard is not a Muslim representing his belief. He's challenging the naturalistic belief of you. Okay. So there is no. So if we're believing in an eternal creator and a temporary universe, a finite universe, should I say? Then what is a contradiction?
Yeah. No, I mean that's the, you've got your point of view there, so I accept it. Yeah, that you from your point of view, you have a creator, and then he can will out of nothing. Yeah, so I accept that's your point of view, right? I'm not going to argue that, because that's your point of view.
But I want to question you now, Harvey.
So my point of view is that
I'm gonna ask you one second. So let me explain our position from a creation viewpoint. So we believe Allah created the universe, finely tuned and proportioned it.
Yeah.
And from that created life. Yeah.
Yeah.
And proportioned it. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you explain to me, using your worldview of the naturalistic view, how you go from a Big Bang, to life on Earth? Can you give me the kind of process how physics became biology? I just want to understand it from your perspective.
I mean, from my perspective, it's just well known. There's no dark secret, and there's nothing I've uncovered special to from anybody else.
So tell me what you believe.
From the Big Bang, you start off with with hydrogen, which formed helium, which formed all the basic elements. Gravity was working all this time and creating more and more of the elements, and the suns got created from that process.
So we've gone from physics to chemistry. Now I want to understand the biology.
Yeah, I mean, then obviously the chemistry, you've got all your elements, haven't you? Your 94 odd elements in the natural world. And those are inherently unstable as elements. We all know that, you know, that's just basic chemistry, isn't it? They always have to react. You very, very rarely find them in their own natural form. It's just that's how nature is. Yeah, you go out, you can ask any chemist. They react, and they create. And biology, as it gets more complicated, you start getting biological processes right from the basics, and they start working their way up. The proof of that. I say the proof of it. It's a reason to believe. Yeah, the reason to believe, from my worldview, is that you look at the fossil record, and as you go to the older rocks, life is very, very simple. As you move up the rocks to more, to close
incorrect,
type,
mate.
life gets more complicated.
That's not true.
Okay, that's how I understand it. If you see it differently, I'm perfectly willing to learn.
Okay, how do you understand the Cambrian explosion?
How do I understand it? The Cambrian explosion, far as I'm concerned, is a point where you went from very simple, basic life, and it experimented in many, many forms of life, you know, multiple eyes and all that, you know, and crazy animals. And then that fizzled out to how natural selection selected the best basic structures of all animals, which is like, you know, 2 eyes and stuff.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't the Cambrian explosion was basically in the fossil record? They all of a sudden found a complex fossil remains of trilobites and such with no ancestor, with no. So it's the opposite of what you said.
Yeah. So far as I understand, is that the Earth was created about 4.2 billion years ago, roughly. I mean, I could be a few wrong. And as soon as it was cool enough, basic microbial life started.
Harvey, the point here is that even if what you're saying is true, how does it negate the existence of a creator? That's the point, you see.
I'm just answering Hamza's
because the thing is, even if, say, for argument's sake, what you're saying is true.
Yeah.
So if God decided to choose that mechanism to create life, how does that negate the existence of a creator?
I mean, you got to look at it and say you've got these processes that we all agree on. I think what we're disagreeing on is the start point.
No. But my point to you is that how does that, even if, let's say for argument's sake, even if those processes that you've explained, you believe that those processes are true, how does that explain where the universe came from?
Well, this is the thing, you see, that's so. You just asked me 2 different questions. I think. Which one is it?
Well, what I'm trying to say to you is that even if those mechanisms are true, how does that justify to you that the creator doesn't exist? That's my point.
I mean, you got to look at the natural world and say, you know, a lot of these numbers that we got, a lot of the like we're talking about 4.2 million, we're talking 13.7 billion years when the universe was created. All these numbers, it seems to be like a naturalistic number sequence. You know, there's not like 1 and 2. It's like why is the universe?
Why have you let him off the hook? I don't understand what happened. Why have you changed the? Don't change it. You know, we're talking about the Cambrian explosion, and we're talking about the biology. And Harvey, see what it is. Harvey's got half information in his mind. He's heard Skydive Phil and this and that and the other, and he's trying to link things that don't link. So the Cambrian explosion is complex fossil remains. And what Harvey said was, in the fossil record, you find species or fossil remains of less complex creatures and getting more and more complex, whereas the Cambrian explosion turns that on its head. And even in Darwinian evolution, Charles Darwin himself said you should be finding these. He didn't even know about the Cambrian explosion, but he was talking about finding hybrid fossil remains of half-evolved creatures. We should be finding millions of them in the fossil record. And, you know, there's a beautiful book called Darwin's Doubt, written by Stephen Meyer, that may be worth a read for you, that you can understand these things. Now, my last question to you is, you know the cell, you talk about molecules becoming coming together and such. Can I ask you, where did the information in the cell come from?
The information, the DNA you're on about.
Yeah.
Well, DNA is obviously a naturally occurring process.
No. Where does the information come from? In the DNA.
Information is throughout the universe. I mean, that's how the universe functions, on information.
Give me an example of something that contains information. Give me an example of something that contains information that isn't the result of an intelligent agency that you know of.
Well, everything we see, all of nature contains information. That's how it works. That's how it functions.
What do you mean by information? Don't conflate information with data. Yeah. Right. So don't conflate the two. I'm talking about coding in it. Yeah. So whenever, like, for example, when you open a book and you find chapters and sentences, you know something intelligent has put this together. When you have a computer program, you know something intelligent is behind it. In our human experience, there's nothing we know of that contains coded information that isn't the result of intelligent agency. So I'm just asking you, where did the information from DNA come from?
No, this is what I'm saying. So your view is that you can't have information without intelligence. I'm saying you have. Well,
give me an example of something. Give me an example of something with coded information that isn't the result of intelligent agency. Give me an example of something.
DNA.
Okay, can you demonstrate that's not the result of code? Oh, you just used DNA as your example of something that contains information that isn't the result of intelligent agency. Can you prove that claim?
Yeah.
Prove that claim. Prove it's not the result of intelligent agency.
Well, where is it intelligence working on it? Where is the intelligent factory?
That's the question. We don't know of anything. We don't know of anything. We don't know of anything that contains information that isn't the result of intelligent agency. We don't know of anything.
No, I think.
So I'm asking something that you can demonstrate to me that contains coded information that happened randomly. Just give me an example.
No, I'm just saying to you that I'm saying DNA. You believe wholeheartedly that is from an intelligent creator. I believe wholeheartedly that is from natural processes.
But the point is,
I'm not changing your belief. You're asking me my belief, yeah?
No, but Harvey, your belief is nonsense. Your belief is delusional. That's delusion, mate.
Well, that's your opinion, you see.
Okay, can you prove to me that the DNA, the information in DNA, is the result of randomness? Can you prove that to me?
Well, what is randomness then?
Well, that's what your claim is. All right, so where's the information come from? Where'd the information come from?
No. Randomness, right? There are patterns in nature, aren't there?
Where did the information in DNA come from? Where did this coded information come from?
No, Hamza, I'm trying to answer one question. As soon as I try, you jump onto something else.
No, I'm asking the same question. You're trying to deflect to a different answer. I'm asking you the question again. Where did the information come from?
I'm going to hold DNA. I'm going to hold on to what you just said 2 sentences ago. Is it the result of randomness? And I'm trying to just explain that. And we've jumped already 3 or 4 spots, you see. So,
okay,
I'm going to
just
hold
one second.
The randomness.
Do you believe, let me make it easy. Do you believe the information found in DNA is deliberately there?
What do you mean?
Deliberately there, not accidental. It's deliberate.
That's not even my view at all.
No, so that's what
you can't.
Okay, I'm not assuming your view.
Like that to me, that's completely set up for me to fail that question.
The whole point of me asking a question like that is to understand your view, isn't it? Yeah. Well, I'm not stating your view, am I? So, if, for example, if you don't believe the information in DNA is accidental, say, no, I don't believe it's accidental, or I don't believe it's deliberate. It's either accidental or deliberate. Which is it?
No, because I don't agree with either of those statements. If you let me answer, I'll try to answer it. But you're giving me two options.
Give me an option other than deliberate and accidental.
Process of natural events.
No, that doesn't answer the question.
It answers it perfectly well.
Well, is the information deliberately there or accidentally there?
Well, you see, can I try to explain? And can you give me more than one word?
Can you just answer? No, there's only 2 answers to that question. It's either accidentally there, randomly there, or it's deliberately and precisely put there. It can't be anything else. There is no third option.
Can I answer? Is it all right if I answer?
Well, answer the question. You've only got two choices.
No, you're making me two choices. I'm telling you the third, and you're not letting me answer.
What's the third?
Is that all right? It's there from natural processes which are
Right.
non-random, and they're not created by an intelligent creator. They're from
Right.
natural processes. Why do I
Right.
say
So
natural processes?
One second. I'm going to analyze your answer. So I asked you a question. Is the information in DNA accidentally there or deliberately there? And your response was, it's there from naturally occurring, non-random, non-created sources. What are you talking about, man? You're talking gibberish.
Well, if you let me explain,
Are these natural? Okay. Are these naturally? One second. Are these natural?
Abbas, can you regulate this, please?
Harvey,
can
there's
you
nothing
be the
to regulate,
mediator?
mate. You've had your fun with that. You've had your fun with Abbas. You've had your fun with Abbas. All right.
No,
so
I'm just
this
asking you to be the
naturally
mediator
occurring
here.
thing. So this naturally occurring thing is accidental or deliberate?
See, there you go. Abbas, can you regulate this, please?
No, but Harvey, I think the thing is he's asking you, there are two possibilities here.
Yeah.
Accidental, i.e. a random event, rolling of dice, however you want to look at it. And the other is that it's designed in that way. It's formed in that way. It's made in that way. Those are the only two real variables here. You said that there's a third choice, but really what you actually ended up saying was that it was just something that happened randomly, which was what Hamza was asking you.
He didn't even say that. He didn't even say that. He said it's something that happens naturally that's not random nor deliberate. That's exactly what he said.
Okay, so let's let Harvey qualify that statement then. How can you qualify that statement, Harvey?
Is that all right? Okay. Please, yeah. So we can't go with random because we all know with scientific theories, right? Nature follows certain patterns, don't they? Yeah. So you follow those patterns naturally. Yeah. So, for example, right, very, very, very easily, right? Water is created from H2O, isn't it? That's just a process that happens again and again. It's not a random process. That's a pattern.
Okay, but Harvey, so therefore, how was the pattern formed? Was it formed randomly, or was it designed that way?
It's not designed that way. It's following nature's patterns.
Yeah. So when we see a pattern, how is that pattern formed?
So it's following nature's example. So what you're asking me?
Here's the thing.
If things
the
are
reason
random,
nature is doing its thing.
If things are random,
the reason nature is doing its thing. It's because it's following the information that's been in the DNA of it.
Okay. A pattern of nature.
I'm done. All right, I'm out. Take care, guys.
If I follow a pattern of nature, we've only got 94 elements, haven't we, in the universe that we know of?
Where did those elements come from?
No, I'm just saying. No, 1 second, Abbas. Right, we've got 94 elements in the universe, so that's repeated again and again, whichever direction we look in the universe. Wherever we look on planet Earth, we've only got 94 elements.
And where did they come from, Harvey?
That indicates to me non-randomness. That indicates to me there's been a pattern followed in nature.
Yeah, but Harvey, okay, where do these elements come from?
Well, they came from the Big Bang, yeah.
And where did the Big Bang?
How detailed do you want that? Because I could talk about that for half an hour.
Harvey, but look, this is a very reasonable question. Where did the Big Bang come from?
Wow. Now you're talking interesting, ain't you? This is where our views change. And this is why when we were talking, then Hamza asked me that. So I had to answer Hamza, but we were originally talking about the Big Bang, yeah? So that's why, I mean, I don't mind answering any question, but, when two people are answering me from, I'm looking left and right. So I'm trying to answer you, and I'm answering another person.
Harvey, where did the Big Bang come from?
So in my opinion, and now this is only the best model I can think of, right? Because for me, right, the facts are up to the Big Bang. They're pretty solid. They're good, right? Now we depart to what we think, And from your point of view, you are very, very firm that a creator created it. Fine.
No, but Harvey, I'm asking you.
Yeah. So from my point of view,
what are the rational possibilities how something can come into existence? What are those rational possibilities? So, it can either come from something else.
Yeah.
right? Or it can be brought into existence supernaturally.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
if we explore those two possibilities, if it comes from something else, then this would require an explanation. Would you agree?
Yeah.
And we can't go back infinitely, because if we go back infinitely, we will never arrive to our position today.
See, that's where I have to disagree with you there.
Well, because if I have to take one step back, and every time I take one step forward, I have to take one step back, and I have to do that infinitely, I will never move forward.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one way of putting it, but I think you can only take a step forward, can't you?
Well, you can't, because you're infinitely going back.
Because we can't go back in time, so we can't take a step back, can we?
Okay, but Harvey, I like the example that Hamza sometimes gives, which is about a soldier who has a gun in his hand.
Yeah.
Right? And let's say his firing of the gun is comparable to the Big Bang, let's say, for argument's sake, right?
Yeah.
And if he has to ask somebody permission to fire the gun, who has to ask somebody else permission to fire the gun, who has to ask somebody else permission to fire the gun, and we go back infinitely, will he ever fire the gun?
Yeah. So in your example, that you're given, which I don't like to use that example to explain the universe, but in your example, to explain the universe, you're 100% right. Yeah. But I don't agree with that example to explain the universe.
Okay. So what's your example?
My example is that the universe has been here. The best explanation, I think, is that the universe has been here forever in one form or another.
Okay.
So before the Big Bang, it existed in a different state, and then you had the Big Bang, and now it's different in a different state, and in the future, it'll be in a different state again.
Have you heard of the scientist called Alexander Vilenkin?
Vilenkin, yeah.
Yeah. So he did some mathematics.
Yeah.
And his mathematics were to basically come up with whether the universe could be eternal.
Yeah.
And his conclusion was that it was impossible.
Yeah, I understand that.
Not only that, but mainstream science, including people who are atheist scientists, such as Professor Lawrence Krauss, for example.
Yeah.
He believes that the universe had a beginning.
Yeah.
But here you are, Harvey, telling me that you believe in science. Right?
Yeah.
Going against mainstream scientific belief, or I would say, what they believe to be true through experimentation and mathematics and what have you, that the universe had a beginning. But Harvey, the electrician, is telling me that no, the universe is eternal. Now, I'm asking you this question, Harvey. Look.
Right.
If we want to deny something, we'll find a reason to deny it, right?
Yeah.
But it's not always reasonable and it's not always sensible. Okay.
Can I answer you?
The thing here is this, Harvey.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether you believe that the universe is eternal or not, it goes against the very thing that you said that you turn to get answers, which is science. And now what you're doing really, I think, and I would say respectfully, Harvey, is that you're throwing science under the bus because it doesn't suit your argument.
No. Can I answer that?
Please, go ahead.
So, because I did want to interrupt you earlier, but I really wanted to give you the respect that to finish off what you're saying, right?
Sure.
You got Vilenkin, and he's one scientist with one theory, and his theory is exactly how you said, But there are other scientists who have different theories. So really, every scientist has his own theory.
Can you name me one scientist that says that the universe is eternal?
Penrose.
He doesn't say the universe is eternal.
It's cyclic, isn't it?
But what he says is he uses the word eons.
Yeah.
And what he says is eons is an extraordinarily large amount of time.
Yeah.
But he doesn't say infinite.
Yeah, but he does believe in recreating universes in a cycle, doesn't he?
Yeah,
that's what he's saying. The universe is going to cycle, which is
Harvey,
which is different to Vilenkin.
Okay, but Harvey, the point.
Would
No,
you
but
agree
Harvey,
with me?
the point still arises. Yes.
Yeah.
The point still arises as to where. So if you say that this is a cyclic universe with an eternal past, okay, there should be no stars, there should be no galaxies, and there should be nothing that we see today. You know why?
Yeah.
Because entropy over an infinite period of time and energy dissipating further and further and further out.
Yeah.
It would be like, me adding 1 grain of salt to a swimming pool. You'd never be able to detect the salt anymore, right?
Okay. But would you agree with me that different scientists have different theories about the universe?
No, but of course they do. But the point here is this: the point here is this: Sir Roger Penrose still doesn't address the point of how the universe came into existence in the first place, or how all this energy and matter came into existence in the first place.
Oh, he does. Read his book and his papers.
I've looked at what Sir Roger Penrose has said.
Sure.
And the point that I'm trying to make to you is, science has to have a starting point.
Yeah.
And that starting point is that these things already exist.
Yeah.
But when you do the mathematics, for example, for our universe here being eternal, so Roger Penrose doesn't think this particular universe is eternal either. He agrees that it had a beginning.
Cyclic,
a cyclic. But I'm asking you now, where does all the matter and energy for this cyclic universe originate from? You're telling me that it always existed.
It's the one thing that makes the most sense to me.
It makes the most sense to you because you deny the possibility of there being a creator. So therefore, it would have to make sense to you.
No, I think what it is that it's not the denying, right? I think that's the wrong word to use for me, because it's just the fact that, like I said that right at the start when we were speaking about 45 minutes ago about it, is that under your model, you've got a creator and then you've got a universe, and you're saying from your own words, and if I'm wrong, correct me again, that you said your creator can create anything from nothing. So you've got that model in your mind,
But that's but Harvey, look, Allah asks a very interesting question in the Quran to the disbeliever. Allah says, did this universe create itself from nothing? So what Allah is telling you is that, Harvey, intuitively, look, because if the fact here is this, Harvey, right? In your heart, you know things don't come from nothing. And the reason why you know that is that, if, like I've explained this many times, if you open up your garage,
with you.
If you open up your garage, Harvey,
sorry, Abbas, for interrupting you. Sorry.
So Harvey, but what you're then saying is that matter and energy existed infinitely,
forever.
Forever, yes.
And
you're saying that this, because what so Roger Penrose, I believe, talks about is not. He doesn't talk about this particular universe going back to a singularity. He talks about big bangs happening. And there's these different universes popping up all the time, right? And he says that the time between this are eons. Which is like some extraordinary long period of time, which he says borders infinity, but he doesn't say that it is infinite. He stops at infinite.
Huge amount.
But the point, Harvey, as I just explained to you, is if something is infinite in terms of time, even if it was a cyclic universe, because of entropy, because of things simply moving apart, the universes themselves would become so diluted that eventually there would be no Big Bang. There would be no enough gravity to pull matter together anymore, because it would simply be dissipated over an infinite space of area. But the very fact that there is a finite, from what we can see, we can witness we can witness stars within our universe. We can witness energy. We can witness stars burning out.
Yeah.
means that process could not have been infinite. Because you realize that a star has a life, right? Our
Yes.
star, for example, the sun will burn out in 5 billion years or something,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because it will run out of energy, right?
Yeah.
If that process had happened infinitely, all of the stars would have burnt out.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
So there would be no energy left, or the energy would be dissipated over such a large space of space that you would no longer have enough gravity to pull things together. You would never have these things happening today. So what that tells us is, there can't be an infinite path to this universe.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I answer
sure.
that? Yeah, sure. So I'm just saying from because obviously my point of view, and you guys obviously don't agree with it, is that science doesn't know, and it's God of the gaps. So I'm not the God of the gaps. It was the missing gaps or whatever. There's gaps in our knowledge. So that's probably the right way to put it. Yeah. So you're saying science says this and science says that, so it doesn't really know because there's competing views. Yeah.
No,
but you're saying
look, Harvey, we're not saying that. We think science is a blessing. We think if you look at the Islamic Empire, for example, at that period, they had the greatest scientists within the Islamic Empire. Why did they have that? Because this was not something that we were not battling against science and scientific progress.
Yeah.
And this is why optics and algebra and, all of these things that were born within the, or sort of built upon through the Islamic Empire was because we see that science is knowing how Allah did things, knowing how Allah has created things, deciphering how things work. We believe this is a blessing for us. This is not something that this is not Christianity where we had this big battle against science and burnt the scientists to the stake. I'm not saying that there weren't some periods where there were disagreements, but I'm saying fundamentally over a period of the normative experience of Islamic Empire with science has been positive, very positive, in fact. Okay. That's not the point. But Harvey, I put to you the question, if something happens eternally, we're talking about infinitely back in time.
Yeah.
Do you understand the point that through entropy, through chaos, through energy being dissipated, all the stars would have eventually burnt out, all of the galaxies would have lost their light, the energy would have been so dissipated over such a large area that we wouldn't have what we see today? Would you accept that? Yeah.
So can I ask you, and this is where I'm totally ignorant about this, so you can inform me on this and I could learn from this, right? Is that from a Quran point of view, from your knowledge, from Quran, we have the start of the universe. So where is it going if you take into account that we're going to get dissipated and suffer heat death as a scientist?
Before we get to that, Allah describes that, and the Day of Judgment, Allah will fold up this universe, destroy this universe.
Okay.
And all of the human beings that will be raised in Yawm al-Qiyamah, in a land, and they will be in the presence of God, and they will be then questioned for what they did and what they didn't do, and their deeds will be measured, and through God's grace they will enter paradise. And if they were disobedient and they believed in God, but they denied God, as a consequence of arrogance or whatever, then those people will be punished. So we believe there'll be a reckoning, there'll be a day of judgment. Now, there is Islamic theology that, or opinions by scholars, that Allah creates infinitely, Allah creates diversely. There may be other universes. We don't know about these things because these things haven't been said to us, okay? They haven't been shown to us. But all we need to worry about is that we exist, this universe exists. But going back to my question before I let Brother Sadat come in, because I've said quite a lot.
Yeah.
Do you accept that an eternal past would have certain consequences? For example, as I said, energy, matter dissipating over an infinite period of time would mean that it would be like adding a grain of salt, or a teaspoon of sweet water to the ocean. It's not going to become sweet. It's going to be so diluted that you're not going to be able to even record or register that, right?
Yeah.
So would you accept that? So rationally, the universe had to have a beginning, and there had to be a finite time of its beginning. And so it cannot be an infinite past. Would you accept that then?
No, it's very hard because the ground that I base everything off, so, and because the ground is that I believe you can't get something from nothing, under any circumstances.
Why do you believe that?
Well, you can. I can't imagine nothing. You can't imagine nothing. No one can describe nothing.
Why do you dismiss the idea of a creator creating the universe? Why do you dismiss that?
Because there's enough explanation from what we've observed that nature can do. Everything happens naturally.
It doesn't.
Okay. Hamza, just 1 second. Harvey, you've just basically said you don't believe things can come from nothing, right?
Yeah.
But you do believe that energy and matter and everything else somehow came into existence from nothing, though, right?
No. It's always been here. This is
but why do you believe? Why do you believe that?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Why do you believe energy and matter's always been here?
It's the best. Like I think I've just answered that. That I don't believe you can only have nothing or you can have something.
No, but what we're saying is what we're saying is this. Look.
Yeah.
It's very, very simple. You've got two choices.
Yeah.
We believe in a creator.
Yeah.
Can create as he wills. Why do you dismiss that?
Because there's enough explanation in nature for nature to work itself.
Well, no, there's not. Okay. No, there's not. You don't know.
I'm not.
When you're asked the question, when you're asked questions about the origination of the universe and all that, and how it finely tuned and all, the answer is I don't know. So the information is not there. So I'm trying to understand why you dismiss the idea of a creator. I understand the way you're saying you're an atheist and you believe in scientism, that you're only looking for natural explanations. What I'm trying to ascertain from you.
No.
Yes.
No, you've put me in a position.
Okay. So just explain to me then.
You've just said to me, you've just labelled me with a bunch of labels which I haven't used. You've used them.
No. Look. If you walk around, right, wearing a Manchester City football shirt, right, and Manchester City football shorts, right, and you're wearing a Manchester City hoodie, but you don't tell me you're a Man City fan, I don't need you to tell me you're a Man City fan to know you're a Man City fan, right? I can tell exactly from the way you speak, the way you said, for example, when I asked you a very, very simple question, why you dismiss the idea of a creator, you said, because nature explains everything, as if only this natural explanation is the answer. So, do you understand? So I'll give you an example. Outside, right, on the street, you might see some dog turd, right? Yeah. Now, a dog could have laid it there, or somebody could have come with a shovel and just put it in the way. Yeah. Right. We've got two choices here. Yeah. So what you have to ask yourself is, what is the probabilities of what you're saying? Yeah. Now, you're just saying because it could have happened another way, it happened that way. That's what you're saying. You see, because you could think of another way this could have occurred, that makes it true. And I'm trying to understand how you've got a 50-50 shot here. Either a creator created everything or everything always existed because you don't believe something can come from nothing. So if you obviously hold the premise that something cannot originate itself from nothing, yeah, then of course you need to then say that thing has always existed. Or you could then possibly what we say is that a creator can create from nothing. So I want to understand why you completely dismiss the creator just because you've got an alternative view. That's what I'm trying to understand.
No, what you're doing is you're putting me in a position and in a corner. That's what you're doing. I'm saying to you,
pinning you to the wall, mate.
Can I finish my sentence?
Finish it.
Okay. Is it all right? You sure?
As long as your sentence begins with an answer instead of some ad hominem attack on what I'm doing. Forget the method of the way I'm asking you questions. I'm asking you questions. So I'm asking you a simple question. Why you dismiss the existence of a creator just because you have an alternative view? Why do you think your alternative view is the truth?
So, like I said, there's enough explanation in nature to describe more than enough for what's going on, and I can't see a need for a creator. If there was something going on that has no need, for nature, then let's talk about that. But there's enough explanation in nature.
Okay, so what's the explanation of the universe coming into existence. Your only explanation is it didn't come into existence.
But because what you're not listening to a thing I've said
not
there.
Listen, one thing about me, Harvey, I've listened to everything you said. That's why when I ask you a question, it's very, very specific, because I'm appealing you. I'm understanding you, yeah? And you're basically saying, because I'm trying to understand, look, if you want to believe in what you believe, I'm just trying to understand the reasons for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, when you say to me, because nature explains it, it doesn't. Nature cannot explain DNA. It just can't. It can't explain the information found in DNA. It just has no explanation. Yeah. Nature can't explain how carbon forms and gets from such absurd probabilities of randomness. Yeah. Nature can't explain this. Nature can't explain how the universe finally tuned itself. How did the universe finally tune itself according to your understanding?
But
just one thing, please. Sorry to cut you off, Harvey. I'm on my way out, but I just wanted to say that the problem with nature explaining nature is that it becomes a supernatural explanation in and of itself. To use nature to explain nature itself becomes a supernatural explanation. So what Hamza just called your naturalistic explanation of the universe, really, like eternality or something being eternal, that's not something that we observe in our everyday environment. It's not something you can put under a microscope. It's not something that you can prove. We can't see eternity into the past and observe it and know that it existed eternally into the past. We can't we can't observe the future and see it go eternally into the future. So my point is that I think even the atheist at some point with his naturalistic, or in his attempt to make a naturalistic explanation, still gets pushed into a supernatural corner. You still have to resort to some kind of explanation that actually it goes beyond anything that science allows us to actually prove. Now you might say, well, we can't prove it at the moment. Then it becomes scientism. Then it becomes blind faith in the ability of science. But please do bounce off of that. But I need to head out. Thanks, Harvey, for your patience.
I'm sorry, I haven't had a chance to talk to you, Sadat. You seem
no. I've been listening. I've been enjing. Thank you, Harvey. And, thank you, brother.
You are the most Canadian person I've ever seen. You're only missing an axe. You've got the hat. You've got the beard. You've got the shirt. Perfect.
Yeah. No, it's nice and toasty in here, but it's just a bad hair day. So okay, brother. Take care, everyone.
Bro.
Fair enough. You take care then. Thank you.
See, Harvey, I think the thing here is this, Harvey. I think intuitively we know that things are not eternal. We know that everything has a time. We know that everything has a place. I think this eternal argument that is being made only for one reason and one reason alone.
Yeah.
And that is that if matter and energy or this universe are not eternal, then they require an explanation. And you can't have an infinite explanation after explanation. Therefore, you need to engage this concept of a first cause that itself has to be uncaused. And I think what you've done basically is, as Brother Sadat has said, you've actually applied a supernatural cause of everything, claiming that it is eternal without evidence, because you don't have evidence.
How have I put the supernatural in? I'm a bit lost there.
Well, because you're assuming that something existed eternally without any evidence whatsoever.
Yeah. So
it's not an explanation from science, is it? Then it's just you're just saying it's a brute fact, a hard fact. That energy and matter existed forever. And the complexity of this universe somehow happened by itself without any cause to it or anything governing it or attributing any sort of power of organizing it. The organization within the universe that we see, the precise laws of gravity, cosmological constant, the strong and weak forces of nuclear forces for protons and electrons and everything else, which are incredibly precise. What you're actually claiming, Harvey, that all of this somehow happened randomly, and nothing was actually governing it or organizing it or creating it.
Yeah, I mean,
and you've got to accept, Harvey, that really that's just a dogmatic belief, because you can't prove any of those things that you said that you rely upon to govern your views.
Yeah, so 100% right. I have to agree with you that, as we said right from the start an hour ago or so, that we're both okay with the science that takes us up to the Big Bang. Yeah, and then beyond that, you know, we got no firm footing, have we, in terms of science? So we both agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
I would agree that
haven't denied
science. I agree that science doesn't know what happened before the universe.
Yeah. So we got no firm footing there at all. Yeah. So I'm saying that's where that's the only point we depart company. You know what I mean? Between you and me and
Hamza. Harvey, the point here is this. Yeah. Science agrees that it cannot answer what happened before the universe.
Yeah.
Science agrees that it can't explain where energy and matter and all of these things originated from.
That's right.
Okay, but we do in Islam, following Islam, we do have an explanation for that.
Yeah,
because Allah is saying that it was I that created these things. I created everything, basically. Now the point here is this, Harvey. You're delving in the unknown because you don't know, right?
Yeah.
I'm telling you that this book is claiming to be from God, and Allah is claiming in it that He is the one who created everything.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm asking you to do, Harvey, is analyze the claim.
Yeah.
And look at the Quran, study the Quran, and make your mind up whether this book is just some wishy-washy fairy tale, or whether actually there are grounds to believe and accept that this is from God Almighty.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm saying to you, Harvey, is at the moment, you're, I believe, conveniently accepting something without evidence.
Yeah.
Okay. But I'm accepting something with evidence because I believe that I have established for myself, through investigation, through introspection, through analyzing, through questioning, through scrutinizing, that this book actually is from God. And so when God tells me in that book that I was the one who created everything, I don't have a problem with that. What you're doing, Harvey, is you're claiming that nature answers everything.
Yeah.
And when nature comes to a point where it can't answer anything, Harvey makes up his own analysis of because nature doesn't tell you that everything existed from nothing or that it was always there.
Okay.
Nature doesn't tell you that.
Yeah. Can I this is where I'm getting painted a picture here. So I have to 100% agree with Abbas and Hamza, right? You have a view, and I respect that view, but it's your view, and I respect it with your view, but I don't have that view, and I have reasons. You have reasons for your view, and I have reasons for my view, but I don't think you can say that I can turn around and say that I'm now basing my opinion on supernatural. All I'm saying is that the best explanation I can go beyond that is where you start thinking, right, science has taken us to a point, right, we need to now move beyond that point. You move beyond that point into an entity that's created everything, but I move on to beyond that point to say that the universe was just in a different state.
Right,
so we're
Harvey,
both on
Harvey. You just didn't listen to anything Abbas said to you.
I did.
I'll tell you why you didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why you didn't.
Okay.
Because you just said we've got no reason to believe what we believe.
No.
You did.
No.
That's what you just said.
I said you have your reason to believe.
No, you didn't. You said I have my reason. You said this was your claim. You said you had a good reason, nature, to believe what you believe, and you said we had no reason.
No,
that's what you said.
No, I'm not going to
okay,
have that.
Harvey. This
With
video, this is
respect,
recorded, yeah? This is recorded. Go back to 2 minutes. Go back to 2 minutes 5, 2 hours 5 on this video, right? And you'll realize what you said, right? You dismissed our reason. You dismissed the Quran. You dismissed everything that Abbas just said to you. When he was talking, you were going, yeah. And then as soon as you spoke, you just dismissed everything. Right now, here's the problem you've got, Harvey, and I think we should end it now with you. But just listen. This is the problem you've got. Yeah. Your reason that you're holding on to, that you think answers the questions you think it does, doesn't, right? And trust me, when you actually delve into these things, you'll realize, oh, flipping out, I didn't realize that. We don't have the answers of where the information in DNA comes from. We can't explain how consciousness comes into, where does consciousness come from? We can't answer these questions. Once you realize that, and I'm telling you right now, you can face palm all you like, right? If you believe that you have nature as an explanation, right? I'm telling you, Harvey, now, you're delusional, right? But you need to find it out for yourself. Yeah. And the way you just dismissed what Abbas just said so eloquently and beautifully was so disingenuous. It was unreal. Okay. Let me recommend, right? Abbas has recommended a book for you, and I'm going to recommend a book for you. Yeah. Because what needs to happen, one second. No, don't say anything just yet. Don't say anything just yet. Don't say anything just yet. Just 1 second. No. Let me just finish what I'm saying. Let me just finish what I'm saying. No, you can't.
One thing? Can I just say one thing?
No. Let me just finish what I'm saying. Right. Here's the book I'm going to recommend for you to untangle this web in your mind. Yeah. You need to. First thing I'm going to prescribe. Stop listening to Skydive Phil. Please. He makes no sense whatsoever. First thing. Second thing, I want you to read the book Return of the God Hypothesis. I want you to read it, and I want you to realize how what you think supports you is actually against you. Yeah. If you trust me, you unscramble the web in your mind. Yeah. Because turning around to somebody and telling them nature explains everything. Yeah, and when you're asked, give me one example of something where information comes from which is not intelligent ages, and your answer is DNA, tells me you've not understood the question or you don't understand DNA. One of the two, I'm not quite sure. Anyhow, I'm happy to end this conversation with you, Harvey. It's been a pleasure. Please read the Quran, read Return of the God Hypothesis, and inshallah we'll have another conversation one day. Take care, dude.
Inshallah.
Okay, Abbas, can I just say, at any point, and Hamza as well, and anybody else, if I did disrespect someone, it was certainly not my intention to, and that's probably the main point I want to make.
No, you were quite.
I'm just trying to listen to your point of view.
We enjoyed having you on, Harvey.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think as I said to Hamza and myself, I think that we've said everything we can say, really. But also, Harvey, from another point of view as well.
Yeah.
From your stance, you see, it doesn't answer any of the questions in terms of why we're here, what's the purpose of life, what comes after death. Morality is a big one, Harvey.
Yeah.
What makes things right? What makes things wrong? Is it just social consensus? Is it just because how I feel? So many of these other questions are all answered by this concept of a creator. What I would say to you is read the Quran. If you want, email us and we'll send you a free one out. It's not a problem. I presume you're in the UK. You might be guessing wrong, but please email us. Do you have our email address?
Yes. So it's on the. Is it on the YouTube site?
It is on, and it's on our website as well, EFDawah.com. So if you email us as well, we'll send you out a free Quran. Analyze it for yourself.
Yeah.
And take it from there. And what I would say to you, Harvey, is that remember that we all have to die, Harvey. Life is very, very short.
100%.
The reality is, we can deny anything we want to deny, regardless of how intuitive, how intelligently we look at things and we accept. We can deny anything in life. People do it all the time, right? But the point is that there are consequences for that. And one of the things, and I've mentioned this many, many times before, is that the angels, when they're taking the people to hellfire, they turn to them and they say, did you not use your reason? Did you not think? Because had you used your reason, had you thought about things carefully, and Allah gave you a rationality, Allah gave you the ability to think about these things, and yet you came up with things that didn't even make sense, but you just accepted them on the basis that it helped you to deny the existence of the Creator. Therefore, you're responsible. So all I would say to you is look at the Quran, inshallah, analyze it, come back with questions, and we'll be happy to have you on again.
Okay. Thank you very much, guys. You guys can have the final word. I just want to say thank you for the couple of hours. You've been very patient, very kind, and hopefully in the future we'll speak again. That's inshallah. It. Okay.
Let me just say one thing before you go, Harvey.
Sure.
If I did say anything that did upset you, that wasn't my intention. All right, just so you know.
No, Hamza, it's fine. You know what I mean? I think I could have said something that I didn't intend to, but my mindset has always been to be very respectful of people's opinions, and don't. I'm not here to change anyone's mind. You guys are very, very firm in your belief. I mean, there's no way. You got to be incredibly arrogant to say you can march in and have a wonderful answer to everything. It doesn't know how it works. You just share ideas. And, you learn things, don't you? I mean, but I know you guys are solid in your viewpoints.
No, but I'll say one thing, Harvey.
Yeah.
Harvey, trust me when I say these words, yeah? If you read Return of the God Hypothesis, you will cringe at some of the things you've said today. I'm telling you.
You know that Return of the God Hypothesis? Is that Stephen Myers, who is linked to the Creationist University? Is that
Possibly.
the same guy?
Yeah, possibly.
I'm saying that I'm being very careful what I say, because I'll be honest with you, I'm 90% sure it's the same guy, but I could be wrong.
It sounds like him. He's a Christian.
Yeah, so I think he believes in 6,000-year-old Earth and dinosaurs walking with people, and I'm not really going to bother. I'll be 100% honest.
No, but here's the thing, you see.
I'm not going to even give him 5 minutes of my time. I'll be 100%.
No, but here's the thing, you see. You don't listen to his opinion. You listen to the facts. And you can test the facts, what he says. I know. Here's the thing for you, Harvey. All right, how about this? Here's a challenge. Challenge Harvey. We'll have a stream called Challenge Harvey, all right? So what I want you to do...
Mate. I can't give up that much time.
No. What I want you to do, I want you to read the Return of the God Hypothesis, and anything you think is wrong, I want you to write it down, right? And then we'll have this conversation again, and I'll ask you to tell me, name some things that you've read in the Return of the God Hypothesis book that were incorrect. Anything.
Hamza, don't be offended, yeah? I say it respectfully, yeah? That if I'm right, if that's Stephen Myers, I'm not giving him 5 minutes of my time. He's a nutter. he's a complete Fruit Loop.
Well, here's the problem you've got now. You've got now. Sure. You're dismissing somebody. I'm not asking you to test the character of Stephen Meyer. I'm asking you, read the book he wrote, read the reviews of his peers, of what scientists and chemists and physicists have said about his book. Yeah. And you read it and you find the errors. Because to be honest with you, if this book is written by a fruitcake, because I'm championing this book. I'm demolishing atheists utilizing this book. Okay. Yeah. So what you should be able to do very easily, if this guy's such a fruitcake, he'd be saying fruitcake things. He'd be making fruitcake claims. And it should be so easy for Harvey to challenge Stephen Meyer fruitcake. Yeah. But, easy.
Yeah. Stephen Meyer, like I'm not, he's got his book, but if he firmly believes in something that I'm sure you guys don't believe in, fundamentally he believes in things that you
could be wrong about. Look, you could be wrong about things and right about things. It doesn't matter. I'll give you an example. Of this. Bart Ehrman. Bart Ehrman, ex-Christian, now agnostic atheist. Okay.
Right.
I learned so much from him about the New Testament and about Christianity. Sure. Do I believe what he believes? Do I believe that he believes that there is no God? He believes that religion. He doesn't believe in religions no more. So, for example, he doesn't believe Islam is the truth. Yeah. Does that mean I don't listen to him when he talks about things that have nothing to do with that?
Yeah.
So here's the point. You see, this is a man who's speaking about science. He's not speaking about his beliefs in Christianity, right? He's speaking about science.
Sure.
So the people who reviewed his book, they don't say what you say. So here's what I'm trying to understand. Why are biochemists saying this book is such a wonderful book? Why are physicists saying such things? And no disrespect, Harvey, the electrician, is saying this, just dismissing him. No, there's a problem there.
I'm not dismissing him. What I'm saying then is if this book is that brilliant and got biochemists and physicists are absolutely agreeing with him and saying, God,
raving about it.
But then Stephen Meyer shouldn't be writing a letter to you or me. He should be putting his hypothesis forward for peer review. And then the scientist community can analyze his work and tell us, because they're the most qualified people for that level, not you and me. You know what I mean?
Who do you think these guys are? Who do you think has?
They're the most qualified. You know, if you have
Harvey,
a jumbo jet, you want it serviced by a guy who's equally understanding of the job. Not you or me, who are going to sit in there and say, "Is it safe?" You want someone at that level.
So you're saying to me, you're saying an astrophysicist, an astrophysicist or a biochemist, or they're not good enough to review the book.
No, so I think somebody's made a comment. I don't know if it's true or not, Harvey, that Stephen Myers doesn't believe the Earth is 6,000 years old. So, I mean, I don't want to sort of, I don't want to get into a situation where we start slandering people just to make an argument. But, so I think, I think let's leave it there. I mean, look, have a look at it if you get time.
Yeah,
but I think Harvey. If you send us, Harvey,
I don't want you guys getting into trouble in terms of legalities or anything like that. So, from to make sure you guys are clear, I take back what I said, just to make sure that you know what I mean, that you don't get into any slander, because it could, with legally things, stuff like that.
Send us an email. Send us an email. I'll buy you the book. Sure. I want you to read it.
The money ain't the problem. It's the time. And, do I have the will to read such a book from a person like that? I'm not sure I do. But main point I'm saying is that if he's writing highly technical, which it will be, about biology, about physics.
No, it's such an easy... You know what I'm going to do?
He shouldn't be writing a book to us. He should be peer reviewing his papers. I think that's...
I've got an easy one for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Inshallah, on my channel, Hamza's Den, we're going to start book club soon. And the book we're reading is The Return of the God Hypothesis.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to listen to it being read by me. Yeah? And I want you to have notepad and pen ready. Yeah? And I want you to tell me when something's been said that's incorrect.
Yeah. No, Hamza, if he's explaining things that are highly technical, me, the electrician, right, won't work. So the way it should work is that what he's saying, he should be submitting scientific papers for peer review. Yeah, those peer review papers, if they are that fundamentally changing, will be reviewed, and they will be the judge of it, not you and me, because we're not qualified.
Harvey, Google is your friend. When he says something that you don't think is true, check it out, research it.
No. Why should I research it when a scientist or there's a peer review process in place?
Peer review for what?
For whatever he's claiming. Whatever he's claiming is surely beyond your or mine understanding.
Okay, so when there's a review on the back... One second. So I'm trying to understand this. So when there's a review by an astrophysicist, what's that?
What do you mean? Explain that again.
So on his book, he's got reviews, yeah?
Yeah. Well, okay, yeah.
From an astrophysicist, from a biochemist, from a physicist. Okay. Yeah. And they've reviewed his book.
Yeah.
Right. Not Harvey the electrician. Astrophysicists, chemists. All right.
Yeah.
So what they're saying is
Hamza, the shopkeeper. Yeah. So cool.
Right. So
we're both in the same boat here, ain't we?
Right. So when an astrophysicist says that this guy is saying such profound things that is doing irreparable damage to neo-atheism, it makes me spit it up. It makes me sit up. And when I see a biochemist say the same thing, then I see another physicist say the same thing, and I see a list of it, then I see a biologist say the same thing. Then I start answering, well, maybe these guys know more than Hamza, the shopkeeper, and Harvey, the electrician. So if they think that this book is so profound, maybe I should read it. Yeah. And maybe Harvey, the electrician, should also read it.
Yeah. Maybe. But if he's saying what is so profound, there is a scientific structure for qualified people to review that. Is that beyond being logical?
Harvey, but I think you're being unfair here. I think you're being very unfair here because, look, at the end of the day, you can't simply dismiss something because, first of all, you don't even know what the book address is. So you're making assumptions here. You're making assumptions that he's coming out with scientific...
Let me ask a question for Harvey. What do you think of Richard Dawkins? What do you think about Richard Dawkins and what he says?
No, but also Hamza, Harvey is basically saying that somehow Myers is coming up with scientific theories where where he's challenging the status quo, and therefore those should be published. I think that's not what he's actually doing. What he's actually doing is he's challenging the current theories that are out there.
Exactly. What's the book called?
He's basically challenging those by providing
hypothesis.
By providing evidence to the contrary, and I think that's a very different thing. So I think you're assuming something perhaps that's not the case. But I think in any case, I mean, Harvey, what I would say to you is Hamza's got a very good idea of reading that book. Do listen to it. I mean, you can have it perhaps on in the car, podcast it, record it, whatever. So
I'm capable of reading it.
Yeah. But the other thing is that definitely look at the Quran and then do come back to us and have this conversation with us, because I think person's salvation, eternal life after death is an important thing. And if we are right, Harvey, that there is life after death, and especially because your assumptions of things happening simply naturally without needing any explanation, I think are not necessarily fair or even logical or rational. But however, that's your belief and that's what you want to believe. But if there is a life after death, the value of that, I think you would agree, is infinitely more than anything that we can possess or own in this world, right? And so I would say, please do take it seriously, ponder on it seriously. Don't just deny it on the basis that you accept a notion of eternal existence of matter and energy, which is not based upon any scientific knowledge or science that you understand. You said yourself you're not a scientist, right?
100%.
And so, what explains the things that Hamza was mentioning as well, things like consciousness, morality, our purpose in life, our existence. Why are our atoms of our body worth any more than the atoms that exist in a dog? These are questions that science can never really answer, quite frankly. Science doesn't delve into these things, right?
Yeah.
And those things only come from a spiritual understanding or metaphysical understanding of why we are here and who we are here. So look at the Quran. If you get time, I'd say read that book that Hamza is saying as well, and come back to us and we'll have a discussion about this.
Okay. No problem, guys.
Take care,
Thank you for your time. You guys both take care. Stay healthy.
Not a problem. I think it's a good discussion, Harvey. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Okay, so we've done another massive stream. I think Harvey was quite a nice guy. It was nice to discuss things with him, but I think he still didn't answer the question about if things existed eternally and energy and matter existed eternally. It needs an explanation. And even you say it doesn't require an explanation and it just is a brute fact, then if these universes were constantly being created and expanding and expanding and expanding, then eventually, clearly, we wouldn't see anything. So that in itself proves that it couldn't have been eternal, that it had to have a beginning. But I think we didn't really address that. But anyway, it was a nice discussion. Hamza, thanks for coming on. Mashallah, there was you managed to get on with your phone, which seemed to work a lot better than even at home with the camera that keeps freezing.
That's pathetic, isn't it? Honestly, I've got a supercomputer with a bloody with hard wire Ethernet cable connected, and it's still crappy. No, the funny thing is, when I do the arena, it's fine.
I know. I just, to the life of me, I don't understand how you do the arena. Your camera is working absolutely flawlessly. Sound is fine. You come on to EFDawah, and then it suddenly just starts to...
I don't know whether it's when I cross over to someone else's StreamYard. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the problem is.
Yeah, it must be something to do with StreamYard or that logging in or something that doesn't quite like it or whatever, you know.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Yeah, maybe I just come on like this rather than join in. Just come through the link, isn't it?
Yeah,
he was a nice guy, that Harvey. But seriously, some of the things he was saying, they were preposterous. You know, when you're trying to understand where information comes in DNA, and then you're trying to find out where an example of information coming from without an intelligent agency, and his answer is DNA. It's just like.
Yeah. And I think the reality is that if even the atheist is fair, this concept of just things happening or coming into existence or being organized in the way the universe is clearly organized, right? We would never think even that this cup that I'm holding in my hand, could somehow come into existence from nothing, or the atoms in the cup could organize themselves randomly and form the cup. We would never accept that. And yet we're accepting that this entire universe, with all of its, we could say almost infinite orchestration and complication and size and everything else, we're attributing this just to random events, basically. And I don't understand how that can be ever accepted. Anyway, we've had a good 3.5 hour stream, I think. I don't know if did you find out earlier we had a bit of an incident. We had to close the stream and restart the stream again.
Ijaz says something.
Yeah, so we had a bit of an event. But anyway,
seriously, someone did that?
Yeah, subhanAllah. It's vile people. Anyway, but I think, alhamdulillah, we've still managed to do a nice stream and get lots of other sensible guests on.
Did the Hindu come?
I think with that, we'll just say a big salam to everybody. Jazakallah khair for joining us. Remember us in your du'as, inshallah, and keep supporting the channel. Hamza,
Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
What have you got coming on, inshallah, and the Hamza's Den?
To be honest with you, Hamza's Den's on hold at the moment because I'm trying to open the shop, isn't it?
Subhanallah.
Yeah, inshallah, hopefully the next live, it's going to be the arena, I think. It's going to be next Friday. We've got, the only guest I've got so far is Sabor. So Sabor's going to be in the arena. I just need to rope in 3 others, inshallah.
Inshallah. All right, so with that, big salam to everyone. And sorry, there's one guest still waiting, but we've just got no time. We can't get anybody else on now.
Can I say a quick thank you to all the guys in the comments, all the guys and girls who are wishing me luck with my shop and that. Appreciate it.
Yes, inshallah. Remember us in your du'as, inshallah. Jazakallah khair, everybody. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.